Ryan Announcer here, play-by-play for the Abby Canucks. You got it locked in the line change, a Vancouver Canucks podcast.
What's up, Canucks Nation? Welcome back to The Line Change. And if you're new, welcome to The Line Change. We've got a very special guest joining us tonight. He is, of course, the longtime voice of Battlefield Fight League, which you can catch on the UFC Fight Pass. He is also the youngest announcer to ever be licensed in the state of Nevada when he worked a cross-promotional event for Tough Enough Z Promotions back in 2018 at the age of 30. He's been seen on Fight TV and the Fight Network. He played the Pride FC ring announcer in the Silver Lion Award-winning film The Smashing Machine, starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and directed by Benny Safdie. Oh, and he's a huge Canucks fan too. I've just got a quick question for everybody. Are you ready? Well, in that case, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, please give a warm welcome to The Line Change, Mr. Ryan Ventura.
Wow, that was a very kind introduction. Thank you very much. Thank you for doing your homework too, man. There were a lot of things that you threw in there that I kind of forgot that I did.
Okay, man. Welcome to the show. Glad to have you on here. Let's start off with some people might not know who you are, despite my introduction there. So go ahead and just introduce yourself. Let everyone know exactly who you are and what it is that you do.
Well, my name is Ryan Ventura. I've been a professional ring announcer / cage announcer since 2011. I've been introducing professional mixed martial arts, boxing, MMA, professional wrestling all across North America and throughout the United Kingdom. And I'm a diehard Vancouver Canucks fan. And like you said before, I made my film debut in The Smashing Machine. And some of you might have, if you're a big MMA guy, you might have seen me on the Battlefield Fight League on UFC Fight Pass. And yeah, I'm glad to be here. Diehard Canucks fan since 1992.
Nice. Speaking of the Canucks, I got to ask, who's your favorite all-time Canuck?
That's an easy answer. I'm wearing, the classic skate logo here. My all-time favorite Vancouver Canuck is Pavel Bure. He is the man that got me into the sport and into the team.
Nice. I absolutely love that jersey. By the way, they really need to bring back the white skate.
Something tells me that eventually that is coming. It's coming.
Oh, I certainly hope so. And when they do, I'll be one of the first in line to get one of those jerseys.
Me too.
For sure. You mentioned you've been a fan since 92. I guess that kind of answers my next question was, when did your Canucks fandom actually officially begin?
Well, I was born in 1987, and like many people that grew up in Canada, you grow up loving hockey. My dad immigrated to Canada in 1975 from the Philippines, and he loved the game pretty much as soon as he entered the country. He grew up watching the original Winnipeg Jets. His original favorite NHL team was the Montreal Canadiens, and he came to BC in, I believe, 1984, and he became a Canucks fan because that was the hometown team. But when I was born, the first player, not necessarily team that I really loved, the first player that I gravitated to was Wayne Gretzky. So whatever, regretfully, I actually begged my parents before I was a Canucks fan when I was just 4 or 3 years old. I wanted an LA Kings jersey because of Wayne Gretzky. But then, when Pavel Bure came into the scene, it started a love and a passion for the team, and it's gone that way ever since. You'll never see me in an LA Kings jersey ever again.
Funny enough, I actually do have a LA Kings jersey, but it's not a Gretzky one. Not a Gretzky one. I actually just did a watch party for my network, and it was a Kings and Rangers game. So I'm just kind of there like a deer in headlights going what am I watching? This is not the Canucks.
Yeah.
No, I don't know these players, but it was a great experience for sure. Overall, speaking of the Canucks, what have your thoughts been on the season so far?
Not okay. I try my best to be as positive as I can be. And, especially, knowing that there's millions and thousands of people that are judging everything that's happening on the ice. And I'm a big advocate for mental health. I don't think it's fair for me to talk bad about the players as they are as people. But let's be honest. There's a microscope and a magnifying glass on these players every single night they step onto the ice. And yeah, let's be real. They didn't perform to they're way below standard. We've had bigger standards for this season, and it's below that. And obviously, from a professional hockey perspective, that's unacceptable. But these guys are human beings too. Like, I read the comments on Twitter and I see the things that are being said about them on Reddit, and like I can only imagine how difficult it could be for them to see that. But yeah, from a hockey perspective, way below standard.
Yeah, for sure. On that note, are you 100% behind a rebuild? And are you okay with a 5-year?
Well, 100%. I mean, we have to have the tough days to have the really good days. And, clearly, especially, with this season, like, it's just clear that the guys that are on the ice, they're not able to compete at the standard that we expect them to be at. And, maybe I have a feeling that, like, it's going to take less than 5 years to be a respectable team. Like, I could see them, getting to the playoffs even in 2.
I like that. I like that for sure. I know you mentioned that you always look at things positively, but is there just one team out there that you just grinds your gears and you just can't stand?
The Boston Bruins. I can't, I'll never, all right, I'm a big Nikita Zadorov guy. I loved his very short time that he had with the Vancouver Canucks. And personally, he's one of my favorite defensemen, but I absolutely do not like the Boston Bruins. Like, I just can't.
Yeah, I'm right there with you on that. 2011 brings back too many bad memories. Marchand being there, Bergeron. Don't get me wrong, Bergeron was a great player, more so on the Marchand front than Bergeron. But guys like Milan Lucic, who are from Vancouver, and then ended up being despised by his own hometown because he signed with the Bruins. On that note, do you have a least favorite player in the NHL?
Who's a guy that I absolutely cannot stand? Well, what's funny? Like, the guy that I couldn't stand for the longest time had to have been Brad Marchand. I could not stand him, but he's like one of those guys. If Brad Marchand was on your team, you would love him. But he knows how to push all the buttons. But I mean, especially with the way social media is right now, you see all the great social media content that he does, and he has like a lot of he does a lot of really cool stuff for like his family and his friends, and different charities and stuff. It's hard to dislike the guy off the ice, but on the ice, what a pain.
Yeah, definitely. I've definitely softened on Marchand since he joined the Panthers. It seems like he's not really been the same, past, although he has his moments, but he seems to have kind of changed a little bit since he joined the Panthers. But getting back into Canucks, I know this happened way back in December, but your thoughts on the Quinn Hughes trade?
That broke my heart, man. Like, I remember that day. Just like, I was in my old job that I was working at the time. I had like a different full-time job, and like I was just sitting in my office that day, and I'm just like, wow, I can't believe that actually happened, And like, my initial reaction was like, man, we just lost like a generational defenseman, and like, having guys like that will be hard to get back. But then when I really, thought about it, like, I feel like I like, with all due respect to him, he's an amazing defenseman, but I feel like as a captain, he didn't do his job well, in my opinion. Like, when you wear the C for an NHL franchise, that's one of the biggest honors that you can have as a player. And like, I feel like I don't know. I don't think he did a great job as the captain of the franchise. I don't like, obviously, like, you saw what happened I see the JT Miller jersey in your room. It's beautiful. Like, Millsy was one of my favorite players as a Canuck, but he didn't have any command of the room, and he didn't have the respect of the players in there to, like, have them all in line and everything. And it was a real, like, I think that was like the biggest issue that I had with him. He just wasn't a great captain. That's all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we've heard lately, even Adam Foote, talking about how there's something different in the room now, something that he hasn't seen in years, which kind of makes you kind of think it might be a little bit of a dig at Quinn. Maybe, like you just said, he didn't do his job right as the captain. Thoughts on the trade deadline and how the Canucks did?
you know, I mean, like we got what we could get. Like, I mean, it was very, as a fan, it was very hard for me to see Connor Garland end up getting moved. It was hard to see Kiefer Sherwood get moved. I have mixed emotions. I mean, like, I know the Chaos Draft, Tyler Myers is very popular. But he was my dad's least favorite player on the team. Like him and I, we used to, like, whenever we watch the games, we'd be like, "Oh, look at that giant pylon on the ice." But over the years, like for myself anyway, like especially in that year when they had that deep playoff run, I feel like he lost the pylon moniker. Like I stopped calling him the pylon because he started playing more intelligently and made better decisions. But yeah, he was my dad's least favorite player. But yeah, seeing Kiefer Sherwood, Connor Garland leave the team, that was a bitter pill to swallow, especially the Elf.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Garland was a bitter pill for me to swallow because I really wanted them to keep Garland, but I also understood the reason behind the trade, and I'm glad he's doing well in Columbus.
Me too.
He's going to have a chance. Shifting over a little bit to the draft, I'm probably up until the draft, whoever else I have on, I'm probably going to ask them this question: McKenna or Stenberg?
For myself, I want to see Gavin McKenna. The Vancouver Canucks, as we all know, we have a great and rich history of Swedish legends. We have the Sedins, we have Naslund, we have so many, Swedish greats that wore the Vancouver Canucks jersey. But I feel like, if you really want to inject some fresh blood and a fresh, take on this team, something like, like I at first, like I was like thinking, I want to see Ivan Senbar. I can't remember how to pronounce his name. I'm so sorry, but I was thinking about Ivan at first. Ivan, sorry for butchering his name, but like when Gavin had that whole situation with his family happen and all the things that he's doing in the NCAA, I feel like this is the attitude that we need on the team. We need some fresh blood. We need some. Sorry, I just read in the chat. Ivar, hard R. Okay, thank you very much. I'm a bad announcer. I need to learn to pronounce names better. But yeah, I want to see Gavin McKenna on the team. He could inject some fresh attitude, some fresh eyes onto the team, something that the Canucks haven't had in a long
time. Mm-hmm. And Scared, don't worry about butchering his name. Apparently, I did that for the longest time. I called him Ivan. And then I found out it's actually Ivar, and I was like, "Oh, geez."
Shout out to everyone in the chat for correcting me. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we'll get to chat a little bit later, but I do want to ask you: do you have a favorite Canucks moment?
Oh man, that is tough. Well, I guess okay. My most recent favorite Canucks moment was actually stepping into Rogers Arena for Game 1, Round 1, Vancouver Canucks, Nashville Predators in 2024. Man, like I recently during that time, me and one of my best friends, Brian, we became season ticket holders for the Vancouver Canucks. And if you're a Vancouver Canucks fan, that's like a dream, to have those season tickets. And we went we've gone to so many games. We suffered so much as fans, and not being able to experience playoff hockey on a consistent basis. So stepping into Rogers Arena, knowing the hype that was going into that game, and the energy, you walk into the arena, you can feel it, you can taste it. There was something different about it. And I remember stepping onto the floor for warm up, getting as close to the glass as I possibly could, and I was crying. I had tears in my eyes because I'm this is the kind of hockey that you live as a fan. This is what you want to see. Every game means something, and you get to open round 1, Game 1 in our barn, and that meant so much to me, and I'll have that memory forever in my heart. And obviously, you guys remember the result. That was a heck of a night. But my favorite moment as a fan in general, to me, has to be the stanchion goal, Kevin Bieksa, 2011. I remember being at my dad's apartment. I was with my brother, a few of my cousins, my aunts, my grandfather, God rest his soul. We were in the apartment watching the game, and you can hear the entire street just gasp, yeah, everyone's losing their minds, and that'll live with me for the rest of my life.
Yeah, that's definitely one of my favorite moments. It's one moment I'll never forget. And it's something that I keep replaying. I can literally replay and relive that day as if it were yesterday.
Same, me too.
Yeah. Okay, where was I? Do you think we'll get that first overall pick this year?
Oh man, like there's that joke, like we're a very cursed team. We're very unlucky, and knowing the Canucks' luck, we might not get it, but I'm hoping. I'm hoping. I'll pray to whatever deity out there. Please give us the first pick. It doesn't. I would love to have Gavin McKenna, but it doesn't have to be. Just give us the first pick. We've suffered for so long as a fandom, for too long. We need this. We need this. And if you think about it, like Vancouver in the playoffs, a successful Vancouver Canucks franchise is great for the league. It's electric.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Your thoughts on how Adam Foote has done in his first year as a head coach?
Horribly. And that's I don't know how else to say it. I mean, he is a legendary defenseman. I remember during the early 2000s how much I disliked the Colorado Avalanche, all those years suffering, and a big chunk of the suffering was thanks to that man behind the bench, Adam Foote. What a defenseman he was. That was an era of defensemen. But you would have thought that, like, I would have thought like a legend like him would be a much better coach, but I guess it's just not meant to be. Maybe it's like the players that are in front of him, they're not performing to his standard. But I don't know. Like we're not qualified to say if he's doing a great job or not. Like maybe like I would have, like the team would have went like 0-82 if I was behind the bench. Who knows? But yeah, poor Adam Foote, not the best.
Yeah. Not everyone's really cut out to coach. I mean, even Wayne Gretzky wasn't that good. So
we remember that was when the great one had his cup of tea with the Phoenix Coyotes, and I think Talk was also on that bench too. He was the assistant coach, wasn't he?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thoughts on the Canucks' new core and their new young players? The likes of Bouillon, Ogren, Rossi, DPD, Belander. The list goes on.
Honestly, like that's probably the most positive thing about this season so far. It's those young guys, this new young core. They're that's why I have such great hope and expectations that they are going to be a respectable team, hopefully within 2 seasons. Like I'm not saying these guys are gonna be like the top of the league and all that, but I have a feeling that they would be the team that would squeak into the wild card, have a respectable run in the first round. This is a great base to build off of. I especially love watching Ogren. He's surprised a lot of people because he's like the guy that was part of that trade. A lot of people were wondering why for him, and it turned out later on that the Canucks have always been interested in this guy too, and he's exceeded our expectations so far, and I hope he continues to do that. And of course, Zeev Bouillon. Tough season for a young guy that's only known how to win his entire young hockey career. And for him to be thrown into this fire and to not be successful this season, it has to mess with you a little bit mentally. But I feel like this will be a great experience for him, because going into, into the future of his career, he can look back at all this and be like, I never want to experience that again.
Absolutely. And I've been really high on Rossi, especially as of late. 10 points in 6 games. Looks like he's starting to. And of course, everyone's coined it the bro line.
Yeah, I like it.
I was watching the news earlier, and even the news is saying the bro line. So it seems to be catching on. Moving into something else, but I know there's a lot of discourse on social media about this, especially within the fandom. But I want to know, do you think should the Canucks trade Elias Pettersson?
Obviously, the deal would have to be right. I mean, I was going through the trade deadline. I was already sort of making peace that could have possibly happened. I have two PD jerseys in my closet. I have the one, the stick and rink one, and I have the one with the just the standard home jersey and everything like that. PD, even though he hasn't performed to what I expect him to perform to this last few seasons, he's still an elite player. yeah, I've already made peace with it. I figured, with the way that the season went, I was like, you know what, there's a good chance that there's none of these guys are going to be here next season, right? So yeah, if he gets moved for the right piece, I would have thought that like so I was actually you actually messaged me while I was in Japan. So like I was in Tokyo for a week, and you messaged me, and like I remember seeing the rumors on X that there's a chance that PD could be moved to the LA Kings, and I thought about that, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's an interesting move. It would have been for Byfield, I think, right?
Yeah, I
PD.
think Byfield, yeah, his name was thrown out there too.
Yeah, but like that, like if you thought about it, like that would have made sense because PD's wife spent a lot of time in LA, and that's a place she considers home, and also PD gets to be reunited with his buddy Kuzi, so that deal could have made sense, right? And that was what I was thinking, and I am a Byfield fan. He's a good player, so I would have been happy with that if it happened, right?
Mm-hmm, for sure. And do you think if they do pull the trigger on that, do you feel as though moving PD is the final piece to the puzzle of this to officially kickstarting this rebuild?
Possibly. I mean, for a long time, PD was expected to be the future of the Vancouver Canucks. Like, we had like a lot of guys that like we looked at, we're like, man, these guys are gonna really, be the great next generation, like him, Bo Horvat, of course, Bess, Quinn, and he like essentially like PD and Bess are the only guys that are left, and for sure, like that would have been like a that would have completed the chapter, and this is a new beginning for the team. But if PD doesn't get moved and he sticks around, but he's able to keep up that momentum that he had last night, I'd be so glad to have him on our franchise as a fan.
Yeah. Just real quick, your thoughts on that game last night against the defending Stanley Cup champions.
So me and my buddy Brian, we were watching the game here, and we had a bunch of pizzas, had a few Guinnesses because it was St. Patrick's Day, and we were like wondering like, where's this Elias Pettersson been? I missed this guy. It was like seeing a friend that you haven't seen in a long time. He finally shows up to the party, and it was good to see him. It was nice to see him smiling. Good to see like all the nice memes and tweets out there of the picture of him smiling. I'd like to see a consistent Elias Pettersson. That's what I want to see.
Absolutely 100%. We're gonna shift away from Canucks real quick here because obviously I mentioned you were in the Smashing Machine. I haven't actually had the chance to go out and see that movie. I do plan on it because I am actually a big fan of The Rock.
Who is it?
But yeah, speaking of The Rock, I'm not sure how much you actually got to work with him on this movie, but if you did, what was it like working with The Rock and Emily Blunt? And how much did you actually interact with them?
Okay, so I personally did not work with Emily Blunt on set because all the scenes that I was in. So you guys are all gonna like this, and it actually kind of ties into Canucks history a little bit actually. So the Smashing Machine most of the movie was filmed here in the great city of Vancouver, and all like the major fight scenes in the movie were filmed at the Pacific Coliseum, and the green room that I got to be in was actually the Canucks' old dressing room.
Oh, wow.
Right. So like, it made it extra special for me that the first film role that I ever have is in a building that like is very special to me as a person. As a Canucks fan, working professionally, my actual full-time job, I work in the music festival industry and all that kind of stuff. So like, we do a lot of events at the Pacific Coliseum. And for me to like be a sort of like headliner in the Coliseum myself, that was so meaningful. And I was surrounded by Hollywood legends and legends of combat sports. It was a really important experience for me. And as for working with Dwayne Johnson, what a great man. I got to work with him for 8 days on set at the Coliseum. We spent 8 days, 12-hour days together. It was all business. Like, it wasn't like, it wasn't like, oh, hey, Dwayne, what's your phone number? Can I like shoot you a text later? We can have some beers or something. No, it's not like that at all. It's all professional. And the cool thing was too, like, he's an extremely busy guy. Like in between takes that we had, he was like actually doing business meetings and all kinds of different, stuff related to like his different businesses and all that. But he was very like gracious with his time. He was very professional. he was as cool as you would think he would be, right? Which was great.
Awesome.
Because like that famous saying, don't meet your heroes. I was very humbled to work with him, and it's one of the few times because like in my career as a ring announcer and working in music festivals, I'm surrounded by like the biggest DJs and artists in the world. I work with them every weekend, and then as a ring announcer I introduce world champion fighters all the time. So like it's hard for me to get starstruck, but when I met Dwayne Johnson for the first time and I shook his hand for 5 minutes, like I felt like a sort of electricity in my hand. Like it was surreal. And then but after 5 minutes it was like, well, you know what, that's my coworker Dwayne. Yeah.
Well, he is the most electrifying man in sports entertainment.
Yeah.
Since you actually got to interact with him a little bit and shake his hand, did he happen to give you any advice by any chance?
No, like actually, basically he was really just complimentary and very kind about my work. Like I'm not saying that like I'm perfect by any means, but for some reason like my time on set I didn't miss. And like it's funny too because like we're on set again 8 days, 12-hour days, long days, but in the final cut of the Smashing Machine, I'm only in it like physically for like a few seconds, but you can hear me throughout the movie because I'm the guy that's introducing all the fighters in the movie. So you constantly hear my voice over and over and over again, but you see me for just that one little bit. Right? Oh, you freeze. Are you still there?
Nice. Acting roles in the future?
Sorry, could you repeat the question because it froze on your end?
All right. Would you like to do some more acting roles in the future?
100%. I mean, right after the Smashing Machine, I got signed by one of the biggest acting agencies in the country, Lucas Talent Inc. Big shout out to them. I've been grinding it out really hard, auditioning for a lot of different roles. Haven't made a hit yet, but from what my agent told me, big shout out to Megan. She's the one that's been getting me like these auditions. She told me that's a really good sign that all these people want you to audition, and it says a lot about you. So just keep to the grind, keep doing what you're doing, and something good should eventually happen.
Awesome. Are you a gamer by any chance?
Massive gamer. Actually, you know what? Hold on. Just a sec. Let me show you guys something. The arm here. You see that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So like I'm a big Street Fighter guy. Big Street Fighter guy. And obviously, I love Pokemon. I got my Charmander here, right? Like who else I got here? I got Snorlax. Right. Yeah. Really big Pokemon guy, big Street Fighter guy. But I particularly love and appreciate retro games mainly.
Nice. Actually, that's a really good segue into my next question. Do you have a favorite game or console?
That's a tough one, man. Of all time?
Yeah.
I guess like it would have to be the Sega Genesis. Because the Sega Genesis is what got me into really into console gaming to begin with. My mom, like, she actually bought me my first console before I could even walk. It was actually the Sega Master System. That was the system before the Sega Genesis, and that was the first console that we've ever owned. But the first console that I ever really fell in love with was the Genesis. And it was great because like I was able to play obviously Street Fighter 2 on it. And what really helped propel my love for hockey as well is playing the games on the Genesis. So playing NHLPA 93 and my all-time favorite hockey game, NHL 94.
Nice. Awesome. When did you start ring announcing?
So I started ring announcing in 2011. I'm going to try to keep this like brief because there's so many like moving pieces to this story. But I went to this local MMA event during the week of a big UFC pay-per-view that was happening in Vancouver. And I was at this event and I saw like this guy posting flyers for this local card. It was called Quest for Glory. And I went up to the guy and I said, hey, I've always wanted to try ring announcing. Do you guys happen to have a ring announcer? And he said, yeah, we already hired a ring announcer. But you seem really interested in this event. Here's some tickets, right? So he gave me tickets to go to his show. A week after we met, the fight card was held at the Croatian Cultural Center on Commercial Drive. I brought my younger brother and my cousin with me, and something in me said to pack a dress shirt. I brought a dress shirt with me, but like no one told me to, but I brought it with me anyway. And I went to the event. Halfway through the card, the promoter comes up to me and says, "Hey man, would you like to try this ring announcing thing? Because the guy that we have is doing a very good job." Now, the guy that they hired initially, he was actually a really nice person, but he doesn't do like announcer type stuff. He's actually like a narrator for like documentaries and things like that, right? So he wasn't the most hyped voice. And they put me in the ring. I go to get changed first in this broom closet. I put on the dress shirt that I packed with me, and they put me in this ring. And like, I don't know anybody. I don't know any of the fighters. I don't know any of the coaches, the staff. I don't know the judges, the referees. I'm pretty much in there blind. All I'm given is a notepad and a piece of paper. So like, as the fighters are making the walk to the ring, I actually am learning their names and who they are and all that kind of stuff as they're walking to the ring, because I'm asking the coaches all these details. And in the event that the fight went to a decision, this was before, like, because back in the day, during those times of 2011, Vancouver didn't have professionally regulated staff for these kind of events. So everyone was like, were volunteers. So if the fight went to a decision, I had to score it. I had to go up to each judge, ask them what they thought about the fight, and I'd score it on this piece of paper. And I know it's simple math, but I'm horrible at math. So like, for me to like, share the results of this fight on the scorecard, it was horrible. And, I did my best. I thought I did all right, but the promoters liked me enough to keep me. And I kept doing all the fights for Quest for Glory until they went out of business. And eventually, I started doing more local fight cards in boxing and Muay Thai and pro wrestling. And eventually I got noticed by the Battlefield Fight League. So for those that don't know, the Battlefield Fight League is the #1 developmental promotion in Canada to the UFC. So it's like it's like the AHL to the NHL, right? And I've been working with the Battlefield Fight League since 2014. Yeah, since 2014. And because of my work for the Battlefield Fight League, it's taken me all over Canada. It's taken me all over the US, and it's taken me to the UK. And it's been a phenomenal journey. And this year will mark my 15 years in the fight game.
Nice. That's incredible. That's awesome. Another good segue. What got you into MMA, UFC, and boxing?
It was actually my grandfather, my dad's dad, God rest his soul. My Lolo Rufino was really big into martial arts. He loved Bruce Lee. He loved Jean-Claude Van Damme. He loved all the classic martial arts action movies, and I used to watch them with him. And whenever boxing was on TSN, I would watch boxing on TSN with him. So that really sparked a love for combat sports and martial arts with me. And obviously I like things like Street Fighter. I'm a big Tekken guy. And when the UFC first came out in 1993, I was only 7 years old. And one of my family friends used to have this thing called a black box. Now, for those that remember what the black box was, it was this illegitimate cable box that you attach to your TV. And you got all the channels. So you got WWF pay-per-views, you got UFC, boxing, movies, everything, right? And he recorded the very first UFC on VHS. And the way that they advertised the very first UFC back in the day, it was no holds barred. There are no rules. This is real life blood sport, real life Street Fighter, real life Mortal Kombat. Somebody could die. Right. And that's what attracted me to the sport, because essentially it was like real life Street Fighter. And I've been into it since. I mean, I myself I'm a high level Muay Thai trained Muay Thai martial artist. So I've been involved with that since I was 18 years old. I even had 4 fights. I've had a few fights as well.
Nice. You mentioned WWF, which is now, of course, WWE. From my understanding, and actually doing my little bit of research, I see you're a big wrestling fan too.
Massive wrestling fan.
Something you and I both have in common. Well, we both love the Canucks, UFC, The Rock, wrestling. Man, you and I are you and I are going to be like best friends after this. This is going to be awesome.
Do you drink beer?
Oh yeah.
All right, we'll have a few beers sometime.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I drink some Steve Weisers here and there. Definitely.
What?
For sure.
What?
On that note, do you have a favorite wrestler by any chance?
Ooh, okay. So as a Canadian, it's kind of controversial, but growing up, my favorite wrestler was Shawn Michaels. I love the Heartbreak Kid. The Heartbreak Kid. Actually, you know what? I feel like the Heartbreak Kid's actual prime was in the early 2000s because his matches in the 90s were bangers, but that was like Shawn Michaels when he was going through a lot of stuff personally, like when he had substance issues, and you know, it's very like well known that he had this big, he was very difficult to work with. Obviously, as a kid, you don't know any of that stuff, but as you get older, you start to understand that. But some of the matches that Shawn Michaels had in the early to late 2000s were some of the craziest things that we've ever seen, and they were just on another level technically as well.
Absolutely. I'm a big HBK guy as well. Not my all-time favorite, but definitely one of the ones who I watched growing up. You know, in the like you mentioned, the 2000s, mid 2000s is really when I kind of got hooked in. I can actually thank my dad for getting me hooked into wrestling, but it was really like early to mid 2000s is when I really. And I was right shortly after, or not long after, the whole, invasion. WCW went out of business. Things kind of started to turn around. You got some of these guys who are not necessarily newcomers anymore. Guys like Randy Orton. Shawn Michaels was big. Triple H. I hate to say his name, but he was one of them too. Chris Benoit.
You know what? If he didn't do like such an evil, like it's the most evil thing that you can do. If he didn't do that, I would say he would be number one on my list, because like from a technical perspective, he was way ahead of his time, man. Like there's so many things that he did that like, a lot of pro wrestlers today that are considered technicians, that's out of the Chris Benoit Heart Dungeon playbook. But because of what he did, like I just don't have it in me. Like I can't even like enjoy his matches anymore. I know there's there's a whole collective on the internet that like, we could just look at Chris Benoit's body of work and totally forget what he did. But no, I don't have that in me. Like I actually couldn't even enjoy wrestling for years because of that. Because like knowing the toll that it took on his body, that he did what he did to his wife and his kid, that's absolutely inexcusable, unforgivable.
Definitely. And I don't know if you want to call it an honor or something. I actually got to meet Chris back in 2004. I believe they were having a show here.
Was that the Coliseum?
May have been the Coliseum. I can't remember exactly. All I remember is that he had a meet and greet at the Toys R Us. That's
on Broadway, right? Is that on Broadway? Toys R Us Broadway?
No, it's closer to Coquitlam.
Coquitlam. Okay. Yeah.
Right where I believe the Toys R Us is gone now, but the IKEA is still there. But, they were having a signing at the Toys R Us. This was like 2004. I think this was when he was champion at the time. Because I actually ended up going to see SummerSlam in the movie theater. I remember those days. I think it was Silver City, going to see SummerSlam 2004. Going into it, I think I was the only one in that audience that was cheering for Randy Orton to win that match. And that was actually the day that I became a big Randy Orton fan, was the day he won the World Heavyweight title. That was really the era that I grew up in, the early 2000s. I'll admit I don't watch it as much as I used to.
Same.
But I still, check it out here and there. Obviously, it's always great when, The Rock shows up again. I've been a real big fan of this final boss character. I think it's been great. I was always a big fan of him as Hollywood Rock back in
me too. That was good too.
And and when they brought back that theme for this final boss character, I was like, gimme. Like, I'm still waiting on them to release that thing on Spotify.
Yeah.
Like, come on. Like, It's been over almost 2 years, and you guys haven't released it yet.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's long overdue. It's like it has like that epic like orchestral like build up, and then like a little bit of silence, and then it's cooking.
Yeah. Yeah, I absolutely loved that theme. As you know, Hollywood Rock was absolutely great. It fit him to a T. And then what they added to it with this new variation, with the heavy guitar riffs into it, you're just like, it. Even just thinking about it now, it sends chills down my spine.
Yeah, it gives goosebumps. It gives goosebumps, and yeah, it's so surreal for me, like to say that he was my coworker, just because like I remember all the nights growing up, playing WWF SmackDown 1 and 2 for hours upon hours, playing SmackDown 1 and 2. I had a Rock poster in my bedroom, bro. So surreal.
Yeah, yeah. Especially when whenever he comes out, he's always showing off his arm, saying goosebumps. I also know you're a dream chaser from your Twitter profile, but I want to ask you, what are your dreams?
Oh man, that's a good one actually. I think in the things that like I've been doing, like I've accomplished so many wonderful things in my life. I'm so blessed to say, because of like my talents and my acts, I was able to travel like to parts of the world that I didn't think were possible. Like, I got to, go to the UK and not have to pay for it because like I'm there to work. I was able to go to Vegas. I was able to go to New Orleans. The money that I made from doing these events, I was able to like, go on vacations with my fiance and do really amazing things together. I think but the biggest learning experience that I've had, like, I think my biggest dream in life, and I hope I can get to it one day, is to be able to make a full-time living just being Ryan Ventura. Not having to, work like a standard, no disrespect to anyone that works a standard job, because like I've done that for so many years, and like, you have bills to pay, you have people that rely on you. That is like, how else are you going to make a living, right? You got to eat, you got to pay bills. But to be able to pay my bills off being who I am as a person, that's the ultimate goal. And I'm very close to being there.
Very, very well said. We're going to get into some comments. I know there are some questions here that I've actually managed to star. Here's the first one. This is from Swervin Urban.
What's up,
Ryan? Honest question: is it more important that we get back there fast or create something sustainable with a long window? I guess he's talking about the Canucks here.
Yeah, I feel like it's I think it's best to like create something sustainable. Like, as fun as it would be to have like a really nice run in the playoffs, don't you want like, a list of like 6 long runs to the playoffs? Maybe one time we go to the finals again. Who knows? Maybe we can take home the cup right during that run. But sustainability, consistency, that's what we need as fans. Like, we can't just have like these spurts where like, we have like a great run here, no playoffs for 3 seasons,
Absolutely. He's got another question. I guess I'll ask this. Thoughts on baby Jack wanting to get his puck back? I know that's been a huge topic today.
You know what? Okay. I'm gonna put on my pro wrestling hat again, and I'm gonna say that in 2026, I did not see the Hughes brothers turning heel this way. Like, both the Hughes brothers, because like, for a long time they were the NHL's favorite baby faces. Like, they're so they're like such fun loving guys. They get to be on the cover of the NHL video games and all that. And now, you have like Quinn leaving the Vancouver Canucks. You have the Hughes brothers interacting with the president of the United States of America. And now you have Jack Hughes wanting his puck from the Hockey Hall of Fame. You know what? Embrace the dark side, boys. Just embrace it. Let everyone hate you. Just let them hate you.
I guess that's what happens when you play with the Kachuk brothers in the Olympics. I don't know.
Yeah.
You
the ultimate heel turn. Yeah.
Yeah, you turn to the dark side. This is a good one from Harry. Who is your inspiration growing up?
Oh, that's so tough. Inspiration growing up. I think like, the easiest inspiration for me to say is my mom, because like my mom was so like my parents divorced when I was really young, and my mom essentially raised myself and my younger brother. Like, my dad's super cool. I love him very much, and he's one of my best friends. But like, when we are growing up in our formative years, my mom was a single mom and had to like figure things out with these two, crazy young men. So like she's my instant inspiration, and like she's probably one of the reasons why I have like such a crazy work rate, and I'm so relentless in the things that I do, because like there's people counting on you, and my mom figured it out by herself.
Well said. Well said. I'm a big mama's boy myself. Unfortunately, my mom passed away a couple of years ago, and actually her birthday's coming up on Friday, so that's actually probably going to be a bit of a tough day.
Love to you and your family, brother. Love to you and your family.
Yeah. Got another question from Harry. This is actually a really good one. Would you ever do ring announcing in the WWE?
Absolutely. Like if they ever gave me the chance one day and they gave me the call up, that would be one of the greatest days of my life. Like it's funny too, because like as many of you know, I had the honor of being the guest host for the Vancouver Canucks Philippine Heritage Night, and out of all the things I've done, Smashing Machine, traveling the world, announcing, doing all these cool things, that was number one, because like I'm a Vancouver Canucks fan. Now imagine me, working Monday Night Raw, working SmackDown one day. That would be absolutely incredible. I'll take NXT too. NXT, I'd love to do that too.
Absolutely. I'm a we were talking about wrestling. I'm a big NXT guy. I've been into NXT. It's probably the most WWE product I've watched over the last several years. It's been NXT, and that's going back to like when Finn Balor was there. You had Bobby Roode,
Shinsuke Nakamura.
I was really into TNA back in the day too, when AJ was there. Daniels, Kazarian,
peak angle.
Yeah, him too. Sting, the Stinger. I actually, you mentioned, being co-workers with The Rock, and being able to meet The Rock. I didn't get to meet this person, but I got to witness Sting get inducted into the Hall of Fame at WrestleMania in Dallas. That's something amazing that I absolutely cherish.
That's so cool.
And even just going to a WrestleMania too. I have my wife and her family to thank for that.
That's incredible. What a great memory.
It was great. Yeah, it was great going to that WrestleMania and then seeing Sting get inducted into the Hall of Fame. Also the same night that I actually proposed. So I kind of all wrapped it up into a little bow there. But I did apparently pass out from the heat, from the Texas heat. They're not kidding about the Texas heat. I passed out at I think it was a big cat facility. They had, a bunch of not cats, but like, panthers, tigers. And I'll never forget this. My wife doesn't let me forget it. I ended up, I guess I was, I'm from Vancouver. I'm dressed for Vancouver. I wasn't dressed for Texas. So I had too many layers on. So I kind of overheated and kind of, passed out just on the grass. Luckily, my father-in-law is a former paramedic, so he knew the signs right away. It's like, get this guy some sugar. Apparently my blood sugar was super low. Oh, no. And then I just remember waking up, looking forward, and seeing this massive tiger pacing back and forth right in front of me. And I'm just sitting there going, whoa, that's a big tiger. But apparently, according to the people that worked there, it was actually concerned for my well-being.
Because I would be concerned for your well-being too, man. I'm glad you're okay.
Yeah, so I was just amazed that here's this predator that's pacing back and forth where it looks like it's eyeing me up for dinner, but no, it's actually showing compassion and concern. So it just shows even animals such as that, predators, are thinking of of that kind of stuff too. But yeah, there's a little bit of a little mini story there. I don't think I've ever actually shared that on this channel. So there you go. We do have another question. This one is from Lucas Gates. Hey, Ryan, any tips on how you handled an in-arena hosting gig? You absolutely nailed Filipino Heritage Night.
That's my guy, Lucas Gates, 92, good friend of mine. Any tips? Well, my biggest tip for anyone that is hosting anything, like whether you're ring announcing or in-arena hosting, is the number one thing is just to have fun. Just to have fun. Like, don't worry too much about embarrassing yourself. Like, just worry about how much you love what you're about to do, and just worry about how much fun you're going to have. And that's contagious, and that's infectious. And it's something that, like, people will gravitate to.
Absolutely. I think I saw some Irvin. This is a good one. Can you put on some sunglasses and cut a heel promo on all the Canucks haters? That's good.
Oh, shoot, man. Do I have any shades? I don't know. It's, to be honest with you, though, to cut a promo on a losing team is a little bit hard. That's like a great challenge. I don't know. I don't honestly, like, I'm trying to think, because, like, I'm looking at my shades right now, and if I should try. Hold on. Let me try. I'll try for you guys. I'll follow my own advice. I was telling you guys not to worry too much about embarrassing yourself, but I'm gonna try. Hold on. Okay, let's see. Let me try. Canucks Nation, since 1970, when this team was inducted into the NHL, we have been one of the most disrespected franchises in this league's history. And right now, I'm so sick of it. I'm tired of it. It's a new generation. It's going to be a new birth. We saw the greats. The team made the Stanley Cup Finals in 1982. Got swept by the Islanders. 1994, we got our hearts broken in Game 7 against the New York Rangers. 2011, we burnt the city down again. 2026, 2027, it's a brand new day. The Vancouver Canucks are going to get that first round draft pick. We're going to earn that respect game by game. They're going to play with their heart. They're going to play with their hearts on their sleeve. They're going to sacrifice each and every time they're on that ice. Blood, sweat, tears. Maybe today won't be their day. It might not even be tomorrow. But I promise you, 5 years from now, the Vancouver Canucks will not only earn the respect of the entire league, but they're going to become contenders too.
That was awesome.
I was trying to, like, spin it because I'm like, like, it's so easy to, like, make fun of the guys and, like, talk about always being the bride, and always being the bridesmaid, but not the bride, and all that kind of stuff. I was just trying to spin it in a positive way, and also without swearing too, because, like, if I swore on YouTube, like, it's not good for the algorithm.
Yeah, I completely missed this question. This is actually a good one. Lefty says, I predict Braden Coots will play at least 40 games with the Canucks next year. What do you guys think? Yeah, I actually was going to ask you about Braden Coots.
I'm a big Braden Coots guy. I mean, just seeing how he's been doing in juniors and everything, what is there not to like about the guy? I think he's going to play 40 games next year for sure, especially if we have, like, a lot of new blood on the team. He's going to get his time. He's going to get his time, especially, like, this season. Like, it says a lot about him being able to play the first few games of the season, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely, especially at his age. I think I've already said, I think he's going to make the team out of training camp just like he did this past year. And, of course, he's going to be their lone 19-year-old that they're allowed to have in Abbotsford. So I do expect him to spend some time in Abbey, but I also wouldn't be surprised at all if he makes the team right out of training camp again.
Me too.
Let's Oh, here. This isn't a question, but this is a pretty good one. Lucas says, thanks for the tip, Ryan. Could be handy if they call me back in Coquitlam next year.
I hope they do, man. Just stick to it. Like, if I can give some more advice, actually, and sorry if this is unsolicited advice, but from my own personal experience, just remember that, okay, like maybe the door like doesn't open to you right away, but just stay persistent, stay consistent, and eventually something will open up. Because like for all the victories and all the accomplishments that I've had in my life and in my career, I've probably had the door shut on me like 50 times over. Like I've failed more times than I've been successful. And like, what has set me apart from the other people is just being consistent and just sticking with it. Right. And like, even now, like I've had like over 10 auditions in the last, like since the beginning of the year. I haven't hit anything yet, but like my agent tells me that I'm doing really well and I should just stick with it because eventually something will hit and that's all it takes.
Absolutely. 100%. Just look. Again, not necessarily a question, but I really like this from Urban. Wrestling nowadays is hard to watch compared to the Attitude Era. Yeah, that was a era that I was a big fan of. Of course, I know a lot of people were a big fan of the Attitude Era.
Me too.
Kind of soft, too many near falls, but by design, it's safer, meaning we can never go back to how it was. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with you. And like, I feel like, especially we were talking about Chris Benoit earlier, that really changed the industry because now we're starting to understand the toll that it's taken on the performers, just to take like headshots. Like I grew up watching ECW as well. Like before ECW was with WWE, I was watching ECW on TNT, and the headshots, the chair shots that these guys took night in and night out, and they didn't get paid as much as their WWE, WWF, guys and everything like that. Like just the brain damage that they took night in and night out, it showed that it's not worth it. It's just not worth it. Right. Like now, obviously combat sports is a little bit different just because like that's the nature of their business, but it's not like they're getting hit in the head every Monday.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that actually, you hit the nail right on the head with the whole Benoit and that, there being a huge shift. I kind of think it may have started maybe slightly before that, actually when Eddie Guerrero passed away. I think that's when we started. And then when, of course, what happened with Benoit, I think that is what really got them, to shift. Actually, believe it or not, Eddie Guerrero is still actually one of my favorite all-time wrestlers.
Me too.
I remember when he died, no shame whatsoever. I bawled like a little baby. About Eddie.
Me too. It was like for many of us that watched wrestling during that time, it was like losing your uncle that you would visit every week.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. He's, Uncle Eddie.
Yeah.
But just that character, the way he was with the fans, how he just radiated off the fan base. And, obviously, he was known for being a babyface as well as a heel. He could do both sides.
Yeah.
You loved him as a heel because, he made you hate him. But that just shows you that he did his job. And then when he was a babyface, just hearing, I'll never forget one of the pay-per-views that I'll actually never forget is No Way Out 2003 when
against Brock.
When he won the title and just hearing the cheers from the crowd. Yeah. You talked about, electric earlier. That was electric, watching that, seeing him finally do it. And we all knew, you mentioned also with Michaels earlier, how he had his demons back, in the 90s. Everyone knew that Eddie suffered from demons of his own. And unfortunately, they ended up, kind of catching up to him in the end. Mm-hmm. But they all knew about his demons. But the fact that he was able to persevere, get through that, and then, go on to win the WWE Championship in the end, no one could have thought that, Eddie Guerrero is the WWE champion.
Yeah.
And the fact that he actually beat Brock Lesnar of all people too.
Yeah,
Cleanly. Well,
he
not
did
cleanly. Not cleanly technically. But
still monumental and probably one of the greatest moments in that era.
mm-hmm. I mean, if you really think about it, with Eddie, were a lot of his wins even really clean to begin with? You know, lie, cheat, steal. I absolutely loved that. That was my favorite aspect of Eddie. You know, the fact that he made lying, cheating, and stealing cool to do.
Yeah,
you know,
and it was so funny too. Just the little things that he did, like when he won the title at WrestleMania 20, that was when he untied his shoe, right? He untied his boot, and Angle had him in the ankle lock, and he slipped out of his boot. Or those spots where he would get the chair and he would make the sound of the chair, like when the ref wasn't looking, he pretended he got hit with the chair.
Yeah.
That was good.
Yeah. Those I could watch clips of those moments on YouTube all day, and watch them with a smile on my face. So yeah, Eddie was really one of the. I mean, I'll admit I did shed a few tears when Chris. What happened with Chris before we found out everything that happened afterwards. Because again, I had that moment with Chris back in 2004, and then you're just thinking like. Not even 2 years later, Chris is gone. And I know a lot of people talk about, how Eddie's passing really caused a shift in Chris. You could see how it impacted him. And, you talk about, mental health. I feel as though that really kind of maybe made him snap a little bit, or may have been, the camel or the straw that broke the camel's back for Chris. And that was, of course, losing Eddie, because it's like he lost a loved one.
Yeah, that was brutal. If for anyone else that are wrestling fans out there, if you guys watched that episode on Dark Side of the Ring about Chris Benoit, heavy stuff, very heavy stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Urban mentions, happened at the Cow Palace, the OG home of the San Jose Sharks. I actually don't think I actually remember where. Actually, no, I think I do remember where I was when Eddie passed. I think we were having dinner, and I, opened up my. This was when the internet was around, but it wasn't like it is nowadays. But seeing a headline, Eddie Guerrero's found dead, and I think I remember like weeping at the restaurant or whatever. I was absolutely crushed. But
I think I was at home when I found out about that. I was I think I was reading something on a forum or something. This is before Twitter, and yeah, devastating.
This is a good one. Connor Cahill, Ryan, who we signed the Ogre, just to annoy Swerven. He mentioned he's talking about Ogre.
Yeah, sure. If it'll annoy him, why not?
Yeah. They have a little thing back and forth when it comes to Ogren. Connor is a big fan of Ogren. I mean, so am I too.
I am too.
He's really grown. He's really grown on me since the trade. And I've even said on this channel too. We all talk about Zibuium, him being like kind of like the centerpiece of that trade, which could still very well be the case that we may see, in the future. But I feel as though Ogren is that sneaky little piece that we got in that trade that we didn't realize that we had. And just the way that he's played, compared to the other two that were involved in the trade, he's obviously been the one who's, performed. I don't want to say the best, because that's not a knock on the other two, but he seems to have, blossomed a little bit more than the other two.
Yeah, that's true.
Absolutely. And I've even told Connor, I wouldn't mind getting myself an Ogren jersey. At least I know I won't have to worry about him being traded. Because apparently when we talked about bad luck and, cursed, I got the jersey curse. I got the Miller one there.
I see the number 50. I see the number 53 back there. I have two Bo Horvat jerseys as well.
Yeah, I got those. Although technically I got that one after he was traded. Technically, I got a Quinn Hughes one that you can't see right here.
Yeah, I got one too. I got one too.
I got a Kuzmenko one that I absolutely adore, a skate Kuzmenko that my wife bought me. And then less than a year later, he got traded.
Yeah, my brother, he has the reverse retro Kuzi jersey, and he was gutted when Kuzi got moved. I was gutted too, man. Kuzi was a fun guy to watch.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's one trade that I kind of, if I could, make a, management decision, I'd probably take that trade back, or at least try and get Kuzi back. Mm-hmm. Maybe it might help out PD, throw him on PD's wing, maybe with Höglander and whatnot. But who knows? You never know. Kuzi might make his way back here. I believe he's a free agent coming up this summer, so you never know.
Yeah.
So Connor says he's wearing number 92, the number I would have worn if I played for the team.
It's a good number.
You let me know if you got a run, and we'll cut it up. Just let me know.
Okay, will do. I'm good on time. I'm having a great time.
All right. I realized we didn't actually really set an actual time. So I just wanted to let that be known. But
sure.
we'll keep going through the comments. I've told everyone to keep submitting questions if they have any questions.
Sure.
I believe I've gone through all of mine. I do have one left here.
Sure.
I was gonna save it for the very end, but why not? May as well say it. As I mentioned before, you mentioned you're a dream chaser. But I want to know, what are 3 things that you're grateful for?
Oh, that's also a good one too. Number one thing that I'm grateful for are my loved ones, my fiance, my family. These are the people that keep me grounded and keep me humble. It doesn't matter what I do in life. I could be one of the most famous ring announcers in the world, and maybe I can make a living being a respected actor one day, but I'll always be Ryan Ventura, the Filipino kid from Vancouver who watches the Vancouver Canucks. And number 2, the next thing that I'm grateful for is our hobbies. Hobbies video games and collecting and things like that. Those I feel like interests are what keep us, that are also things that makes us human, whether your hobbies are Canucks hockey, video games, or collecting Pokemon, I'm glad for hobbies. And number 3, I guess right now, I've kind of been slacking on it a little bit since I came back from Japan, but it's my health. You're only as if it wasn't for being healthy enough to wake up through the day, to be able to work and perform and things like that, it's not possible without having good health. And also I've seen people that are very close to me, I've seen their healths deteriorate and all that, and to see them go through difficult times, so it makes you humble, and it makes you grateful for your own health and well-being.
Well, very well said. Very well said. Connor's got a question here. If we got the next head coach, but it isn't Manny, who would you want in charge?
That's tough, because he's the only guy that I even had on my radar, because like many of you guys out there, I've watched Manny Malhotra since his days as a Vancouver Canuck, and of course I really enjoyed the run that him and the Abbotsford Canucks had last season. That was fantastic. Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't have a better answer for you, but at this point, anyone except Adam Foote.
That's fair. Connor just say he does throw out Pete DeBoer.
Okay, yeah, that's a good one too. I mean, you would think though that promoting from within would just make sense, right? Mm-hmm. And Manny not only has that relationship with the players, he has that relationship with the fan base already that's already established, and he's already been in the trenches as a Vancouver Canuck himself. So just promoting him that just makes all the sense in the world to me. And I feel the upcoming season, there's no better time than now, right? And then, Adam Foote, I'm pretty sure he'll have a job in Philadelphia waiting for him.
Yeah, absolutely. Another one from Irvin. You have only money for one dinner. Would you rather kick it with Ernie Reyes or Dante Basco?
That's a tough one. So for those that don't know, both of those legends are Filipino legends. Ernie Reyes, for many of you that may know, he's a legendary martial artist, and also you might have seen him in the second Ninja Turtles movie. And Dante Basco, he was Rufio in Hook, and he also was Prince Zuko in Avatar. I think I would have to pick Dante Basco because that's my fiance's one of her favorite actors, and she loves the Avatar series. So to make her happy, I'd have dinner with him. And I also got to I also got to meet Ernie Reyes too, because he was cornering a fighter that I introduced in New Orleans a few years ago. So that was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned he was in Ninja Turtles. Do you know what character he played?
He was Kato. He was the pizza.
Kato.
Yeah. He was the pizza boy.
Now I remember. Yeah.
Speaking
of Ninja Turtles, did you have a favorite movie growing up, or do you have an all-time favorite movie?
Oh, that's so tough because it changes all the time depending on my mood, man. I love the first Matrix movie. The first Matrix movie is one of my all-time favorites. I can always go back to the Future, the very first one, and I enjoy that movie a lot. Like many other people that grew up watching hockey in the early 90s, obviously the Mighty Ducks trilogy is iconic. I love the first Jurassic Park. And one of my favorite comedies of all time, there's two of them. I love Coming to America by Eddie Murphy. That's one of my favorites. And I love Tommy Boy with Chris Farley.
Nice. Yeah, I'm the same way with movies. I flip-flop all the time. I'm really into comic books, DC, Marvel. Yeah. I'm not really on one side. I like both. I don't usually, prefer one or the other. I like both pretty equally.
Depends on the mood, right?
Yeah, definitely. Depends on the mood. I actually have a Batman animated sleeve tattoo, sleeve.
Oh, that's cool. That's a great show.
Yeah, that is one that I actually grew up on, was the animated series. Don't get me wrong, I absolutely love the Michael Keaton Batman films.
But the animated series was excellent.
Yeah, he was definitely back then my film Batman of the time, but deep down, my Batman was, of course, Kevin Conroy. Bless his soul. I actually, again, got a chance to meet Kevin at a fan expo.
That's awesome.
I forget how many years ago it was now. But at least
was it here in Vancouver?
It was before he died, for sure. So, but unfortunately, that was it was here in Vancouver. It was unfortunately before I got the sleeve done or even had the idea for it. But I got him to sign one of my DVD, animated series DVDs, one of the volumes that I have. Got him to sign that. He did do his Batman voice, but I unfortunately was not able to record it. But he did his I'm Batman, and I was just like, you could probably ask if we have those beers. You can probably ask my wife. Be like, I absolutely went limp after that, hearing him do that.
That's so cool.
But I was a big Kevin Conroy guy, big Mark Hamill guy as the Joker. Obviously, with Star Wars too, I'm a big Star Wars guy too. Are you a big Star Wars guy as well?
For myself, I'm not super diehard into Star Wars, but I love the original trilogy. I can always go back to the original trilogy movies, and I can look back at it very fondly and enjoy every minute of it. I actually I went to go. I remember watching episode 1 on day 1. I remember lining up because I begged my dad to take me to go watch it at Silver City, the one in Metrotown. And we went to go watch it, and I still look back fondly on that fight scene with Darth Maul and Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi. That was a really cool fight scene back in the day.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Especially with the time that it was in back in 1999. You didn't really see that a whole lot. And then, you know, Ray Park was such a great martial artist at the time. You know, he still is to this day. What were your thoughts on the prequels? Like, did you just like the first one, or I
I don't
know
like. I
there's
feel like
mixed.
I feel like it didn't really pique my interest that much. Maybe it's because like I had like as you get like older, like you know, you start to like become cemented in the things that you're interested in, and you only have a capacity for only so much. But like I found like it didn't like after episode 2, it didn't really like you know grab me. Like I know my brother, he loves Star Wars, like absolutely loves Star Wars, but like you know after episode 2, like it didn't. I didn't really stick with it.
Yeah, that's totally fair. I wasn't the biggest fan of episode 2, but I did absolutely love episode 3, just because you know it ties everything together. I'm also a big fan of Hayden's. I actually got to meet him last year at Fan Expo again. I usually try and go to Fan Expo every year as much as I can. This year, unfortunately, I had to miss it. But pretty stacked lineup this year too. Because back in the day, I was really into and actually I'll get what your favorite TV shows were as well.
Sure.
But I was a big fan of Smallville, like back in the day.
Back
in the 2000s. You know,
yeah, that's a Vancouver classic.
Exactly. I was just about to say, you know, filmed here in Vancouver. You know, I absolutely loved that show. I watched it for 10 seasons. You know, its entire run. Of course, Tom Welling was at this year's Fan Expo, and unfortunately, I couldn't go. I believe Kristen Crook was there, Erica Durant. So they had like the 3 big names from that show, and unfortunately, I wasn't able to go. But that's okay. I've been able to meet Tom in the past. So unfortunately, it was during the pandemic, so they had the little
the
wall
glass
between us.
Yeah,
and
you know, I have to admit that was kind of innovative. That was they tried.
Yeah, they absolutely tried for sure. And yeah, you can kind of see it in the photo, but it's fine. I'm just pointing at him anyway, and he's pointing at me, so it's all good. But yeah, no. On that note, did you have any favorite TV shows?
You know, I'm very much like a product of the late 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. You know, I'm a product of that. So like obviously like I'd say like overall one of my all-time favorite TV shows is the original seasons of The Simpsons. So like the from the first season till about the mid 2000s, I watched a lot of Simpsons. Of course, like I was really big into oh man, like I love the Batman animated series as well. Batman animated series is great. I loved Malcolm in the Middle, King of the Hill. You know, Family Guy up to the mid 2000s as well, right? As you can see, there's a trend. There's a lot of animated shows. Of course, I love the Dragon Ball Z. That was one of my favorites as well.
Absolutely. We'll quickly shift back over to Batman, but Connor says best Batman iteration, hard to top Christian Bale.
Yeah, I think Christian Bale set a whole new standard of how great Batman could be, right? In terms of acting. Yeah, he was really good.
Absolutely, yeah. You know, I mentioned Keaton being one of my favorite, you know, film Batmans. I am not afraid to admit Bale kind of usurped him in that category.
Yeah,
Keaton's now number 2 for me. Bale's number 1. Although I will not lie, Pattinson is starting to creep up that list because I absolutely loved his solo film with the Batman. I thought it was great.
Yeah, he did a great job. Really good.
I'll admit I was one of those like skeptics. You know, when he was first cast, I was like, really? The sparkly vampire is Batman now? But I was like, you know what? I'm gonna give him a chance. And he knocked it out of the park. Absolutely.
Yeah, did a great job.
Yeah. But Connor does agree too. Conroy is the undisputed voice of Batman, 100%. Just you know, like Mark Hamill is the undisputed voice of the Joker. You know, those two are like 2 peas in a pod. You know, it's absolutely sucks that you know Kevin is obviously no longer with us, and we won't be able to. I mean, we'll be able to go back and watch old clips and old videos, episodes of Batman the Animated Series, but there's going to be no new projects.
Yeah.
Unless they use like AI or something to like.
Oh, like as soon I knew you were gonna go there, and I was just like, I'm not into it at all. Like if they went that route.
Yeah, I wouldn't be a fan of that either.
Personally, like I'm a big fan of AI as a tool and not as a crutch for performance art. I'm not into it at all. Like, whenever I hear like, people that have made songs, like they would enter a prompt into like, Chat GPT or something and they'd make a song out of it. Like it would just like taint it for me. And it feels gross. It doesn't feel right. Right. But if you use it as a tool, like if you're looking to do an itinerary for your travels, or if you need AI to like proofread a letter, or like, maybe help you learn how to pronounce a word or help you like learn how to speak a language, that's great. But if you're using it to like fake Batman's voice or write a whole new song or a whole new show off of that, that's gross. That's just wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. I do love this question from Irvin. Bigger crush, Kelly from Saved by the Bell or Kimberly from Power Rangers?
Bro, man, do I have to pick between the two of them? Like, can I have both? No, it's a coin toss because like I loved Saved by the Bell. Saved by the Bell is one of my favorite shows growing up, and I love the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. I can't pick between the two. I just can't.
Yeah, I'm like staring at it right now, just going like, I might be slightly leaning towards Kimberly, just because like you, I absolutely loved Mighty Morphin Power Rangers growing up. Actually, dang it, so dusty, but I got the old.
Oh yeah, I can't tell which one is that. Is that the T-Rex?
I think it's Tyrannosaurus.
Yeah,
actually.
Tyrannosaurus. Yeah. Oh, that's great.
Where's the
Oh, that's so
Where's
good.
the button? Yeah.
Bro, like I didn't expect to see that on this podcast today. That's awesome. I love it.
I probably was never planning on showing that, but we mentioned Power Rangers, and I have a bunch of different coins that can go into it, so it's not just the Tyrannosaurus.
That's so cool.
But
That's great,
I absolutely loved the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
Me too.
Especially the older, the older seasons. I think some of them might be on Netflix. Although I will admit, I did watch that remake.
The movie that was filmed here.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of my buddies like has a role in that movie. He has like a I can't, it slips my mind, but like yeah, one of my friends is in that movie. It's good.
Yeah,
I mean like it's okay, but I mean like it's cool that my buddy was in that movie.
Yeah. It just didn't have that same feeling as the original. But I do know Netflix did a little like special recently. I believe it was focused on Billy in this one.
Was it any good?
I thought it was okay. Still it did capture a little bit of that old like magic from the original. Obviously, they didn't have, the likes of, Jason David Frank, because this was after he had passed. I don't think Amy Jo Johnson was in it, but they had, Billy, the original Blue Ranger. They had the original Black Ranger was in it. His name slips my mind real quick. I could have sworn I just had it, but
that guy doesn't age. The original Black Ranger, he still looks like he's 20 years old.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think it also focused a lot on Trini, and they also kind of tied in her death into the story, where actually her daughter ends up taking over for her. Walter Jones, that's his name. Thank you, Connor. But, he doesn't look like he's aged at all. So yeah, I thought it was okay. I think it's like an hour and a half, something like that. Nothing too fancy, but I was like, hey, it's looks like most of the original cast, so may as well check it out. But
man, the original cast kind of got screwed when it comes to money, though, eh? Like,
Yeah,
you
they
know,
did.
they were being like harshly underpaid and overworked.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And on that note, Jason David Frank is everything that people say that he is. Great human being. Another person I got to meet at Fan Expo here in Vancouver. I was I think that was before I had that morpher, unfortunately. I think I got that morpher afterwards, and I was like, if only I'd gotten it like beforehand and brought it with me. And of course, that's another one of those ones that I got to meet. Luckily, before they passed, but he was absolutely fantastic. Just a genuine human being. I think he even said, because my wife and I actually went to his panel, just to hear him talk, and he even said, my agent told me, you don't have to do this. You don't have to be here. It's technically supposed to be, you're supposed to be having some time off and enjoying yourself. He's like, no, I want to do this. And then he also made sure everyone got through the photo op line and the autograph line. He made sure everyone, because I think I remember leaving on one of the days. A lot of these celebrities had left and were done for the day. He was still signing autographs, and his lineup was huge. So
Wow.
yeah, he's one of those good ones that was all about the fans.
Rest his soul.
Mm-hmm. But Irvin says here, power rank these dishes: adobo, lumpia, and apologies if I mispronounce some of these.
Sure.
Palabok, Lichian, arroz caldo.
So adobo, lumpia, palabok, lechon, arroz caldo. So like these are like some very popular Filipino dishes. I'm familiar with Swervin, my boy Swervin, my Filipino brother. I see him like in the different like chats all over the Canucks YouTube sphere. It's hard to rank these. So like for those that aren't Filipino, let me give you a little bit of education. So adobo is a very famous soy dish, typically with chicken. So my mom makes some fantastic chicken adobo, so I'd like that. Lumpia is basically like a spring roll. Palabok is it's like a noodle dish. It's kind of like chow mein, but it has like eggs and like a fish sauce in it. But trust me, it's amazing. Lechon is roast pork, and a roast caldo is basically like it's like a chicken porridge, a chicken ginger porridge. It's all really good food. If I was to rank them right now, just by looking at it, I'd say adobo number 1, lechon number 2, lumpia number 3, arroz caldo number 4, and palabok number 5.
Awesome. Urban also says the Green Ranger armor in the American show was such ass compared to Super Sentai.
That's funny that you mentioned that, because I was, like I said, I was just in Japan and I was surrounded by like, every like childhood hobby that you can have. It's right in front of you, and I saw lots of Super Sentai when I was down there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you and I were talking while you were in Japan that my wife and I are actually planning a trip to Japan, a Korea/Japan trip. I mentioned she was in Korea in September, and she wants to go back, but she also wants to go to Japan. And I'm like, well, it's one or the other. And she's like, well, why don't we just combine them? And I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, that works. That works.
I think that could be worth your while, just because the most expensive thing about these kind of trips, of course, is the flight. The flight from Vancouver to Seoul or Tokyo is not cheap, but once you are there, your money can go a long way if you're smart about it. Because like you don't necessarily have to stay in the fanciest of fancy hotel, just somewhere that's like clean, safe, central to where you want to go. And it's a good place to sleep. That's all it's for. When you go to places like that, you don't want to stay in your hotel anyway.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, she stayed in a pretty nice Airbnb when she was in Korea. She mentioned how there was coffee shops everywhere she looked, and she was she felt like she was in Disneyland, with all these coffee shops surrounding her. And I was like, did you purposely pick that Airbnb because of these coffee shops? She's like, yep.
Good move.
Yeah. I love this from Connor. Tyler, go to a Jollibee restaurant. I do love me some Jollibee. I haven't had a chance to actually physically go. Kind of waiting for this rain to stop so I can actually go, get out of the house.
Yeah.
But my wife has got me addicted to the Jollibee spaghetti.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it.
It's crazy. So like the Jolly, like I love Jollibee, especially since it's like a national like Filipino chain and everything. But when I have all my friends who aren't Filipino, people who aren't Filipino, they tell me that they love the spaghetti. I'm like, dude, find yourself like a Filipino friend and get them to make you Filipino spaghetti because it's on another level. Like it's basically the Jollibee spaghetti, but on steroids.
I'll definitely have to definitely take a look at that for sure. I don't know. I don't know if it's the hot dogs mixed in with it. I know this the sauce is very sweet.
Yeah.
I know some people don't like the sweetness of the sauce, but I don't know what it is about the spaghetti with hot dogs. It just she got it for me for the first time. I tried it and I was like, where did you get this?
Yeah.
And where can I get more?
Yeah, it's a crazy dish because Filipino spaghetti is a product of American colonization. So like when the Philippines was a colony of the United States, they had to be creative and try to make dishes that try to resemble like what they would serve in the States, and spaghetti was one of them. And it turned into what it turned into because like back in the Philippines, many people they don't have much to begin with, so you kind of have to work with what you have. And that's what they had at that moment, and it worked out, and it's become a national dish.
Absolutely. Saying a trip to Manila and Hexagon City be on my bucket list for sure. Yeah, I wouldn't mind going to the Philippines for sure.
Me too. Like one of the things that I was discussing too with my fiance was like, the experience that we had in Japan was so great, but it also like when I was there, like I was so blown away by how the Japanese culture have such a great love and respect for their heritage and their culture that I felt like my own heritage and my own culture was calling out to me when I was there. So like I feel like I need to, do like a dual trip just like you. Like I'll go to the Philippines, go check out my roots, and then go back to Japan too. That's how much I liked it.
And of course, Urban saying nothing compares to Filipino home cooking.
That's so true. And like it's only been recently, especially in the Vancouver area, where restaurants have like Filipino restaurants have become like a big trend for like foodies and things like that. But for a long time, it was hard to find a really good Filipino restaurant to go to. So if you wanted Filipino food, you had to go to I had to go visit my mom. I had to go to my uncle's place or something like that to eat some good Filipino food. But now there's so many good restaurants out there too.
Connor said, I was horrified when I learned of the Filipino Islands have eggs, but the yolk is developed into what?
So I think what he's referring to is there's this thing called balut. So like basically it's a duck's fetus. So like it's like an egg, but it's like developed into like I can't remember how many months, but basically if you cracked open this egg, it's like essentially like an underdeveloped fetus.
Oh,
it sounds gross. It doesn't look great, but it doesn't taste that
bad. We got Jay. I'd probably like it, referring to the Filipino spaghetti. I'd probably like it. I'd add wieners to my craft dinner. Yeah, I'm a big cake and wieners.
Yeah, me too. I do that all the time actually.
Yeah, I did that as a kid, and I still do it as a almost 35-year-old man now. I mean, I work up at Grouse Mountain, so we have, of course, mac and cheese on one of our menus. If I usually am in the mood for mac and cheese, I'll usually grab a hot dog, chop it up, throw it into the mac and cheese, add a little bit of ketchup, and boom, it's like my childhood all over again.
Yeah, man, can't go wrong with that.
Urban, whether it's because all Filipino moms subscribe to one ultimate truth: make your children's favorite the way they like it.
That's actually true. My mom does that for me whenever I go visit her. She makes and my dad's wife, she does the same thing. She makes the food just the way that I like it. And It's only recently that I started like because like I just my fiance and I we just got a place recently, and like whenever I'd make dinner, like I would try to like copy the way that they make it for me, and like I feel like I've nailed it, and it's true. It's true.
Mm-hmm. Brian, oh my God, that got me. You'd make an excellent food critic.
No, I'm actually a horrible food critic because for me it's there's only two ways that food is. It's either oh my God this is amazing or oh my God this is shit. Sorry, I said shit, but like there's no in between. It's either great or bad.
Mm-hmm. It says that's why Filipino restaurants are not successful in Vancouver.
Not fully true. There's like quite a few like restaurants that are on the come up. Like especially in Vancouver, there's a lot of like excellent chefs and restaurants that you can go to. One of my really good friends, they have a restaurant called Helena. That's it's like modern take on Filipino food, and it's like not only is it delicious and very very like Instagram worthy, it's very affordable. Like they keep the prices very affordable for families to go to, and I'm a big fan of that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we obviously talked about Canucks a little bit earlier. This is of course called Talking Canucks with Brian Ventura. So let's get back into some Canucks stuff. I mean,
sure.
This has been great talking about all this other stuff as well, but your thoughts on the rest of the season, and how do you think the Canucks are going to do tomorrow night against the other Florida team tomorrow night?
Well, are they still 10 points at the bottom?
I think last I looked, they are the other night, they were 9.
I'm just trying to think from like from a drafting perspective. How do I want them to do? I mean, obviously, we want that high draft pick, but I mean, like if we have enough points to spare, why not let the boys have some fun here and there? Like all the season can't be all doom and gloom. These guys are human beings. They deserve to smile. They deserve to have fun and enjoy their job. Here and there. Like it can't be all horrible. But I mean, like tomorrow night, I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. I don't know which version the Vancouver Canucks show up tomorrow. I think like for the remainder of the season, like let's get the young guys to get some great experience out there. Let's let's maybe like like I said, let's let them have some fun before the season ends and they go play golf in the summer, and or if they're really smart, like they would use this summer to better themselves. They would use that to combine the fun with strength and conditioning, and maybe like I don't know what a lot of the players do like outside of the ice, but I hope they take advantage of things like sports therapy and see a sports therapist, because like having the strong mind and body having the strong mind and body to go hand in hand and be very beneficial going to the next season.
Sure. And yes, they are 9 points behind Calgary with 50 points. Calgary has 59. But I can't remember, is Calgary playing tonight? Yeah. I should probably know this.
I'm just looking at my TV right now to see if they're playing any.
Yeah, they are playing right now. They're in the third period, tied with the Blues.
Okay.
So they could potentially be getting at least 1 point if the game remains tied. So.
Okay. Yeah, like I mean, like again, like as what like any opportunity it takes for I just want the boys to get number one. The one thing that like I never like understood about the draft lottery is like I always have this debate, and like I've heard some other people talk about it, but if you don't make the playoffs, why don't you just like automatically have like an equal chance to get that pick? Like if you already don't make the playoffs, your season's already a wash, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. I've always been on the notion, like not necessarily lose the rest of the way, sprinkle a few wins here and there, for good vibes, and for the young guys. But, obviously, don't win enough where you end up, moving up in the standings, of course.
Yeah.
So maybe a win every 3, maybe 4 games would be okay. And hey, if they had some effort in games that they lost, I'd be satisfied with that.
Yeah, me too. As long as you showed that you as long as you show that you want to battle out there and put it on the line for the team, then that's great, right? I'm always for that.
Absolutely. Real quick here from Gunnar, you boys need to visit an Irish pub in the morning and have a traditional Irish yum delicious.
What is that? What is that? Like a Guinness and a Bailey's and coffee? Is that what an Irish breakfast is? Sorry, no. Yeah,
I'm not sure. That's a good question, actually. I'm not sure what he means by that. I mean, I'm not a big Guinness guy, but I do like me some Bailey's and coffee for sure.
Yeah, Bailey's and coffee is good.
No, I actually had crap. What was it that we had tonight for dinner? We had well, technically it was last night's dinner because of St. Patty's Day. I had it tonight because I obviously had the game. Was watching the game last night, but I think it was corned beef. We had corned beef tonight.
Nice.
Yeah, I do have a little bit of Irish in me as well, so there's that. A lot of the time, sometimes we have for St. Patty's Day we have the beer can chicken. My dad
that's always good.
Loves
yeah,
doing that. Yeah,
beer can chicken is good.
That's usually the only time he'll use Guinness for that. But Connor says here also, imagine if Calgary gets number 1. Oh, please no. Please no.
Oh, that would completely rub me the wrong way. I do not like any of the Alberta teams either. One of my really good friends is a diehard Calgary Flames fan, and he always tries to rub it in my face when they're doing well. But they're not doing that well this year.
I was just about to say, yeah, they're not doing that this year. But no, I have been thinking as of late, obviously there's been a lot of talk, when it comes to the draft, obviously, all eyes are on McKenna, Stenberg, even, Veerhoff. There's also been talk about, Manny's son, Caleb. I don't know why, but I'm getting this funny feeling that Calgary is going to get Caleb. They're going to draft Caleb. And it's going to grind my gears because, one, he's going to Calgary. So he's in the division playing for a rival. And two, Calgary's going to get that pick because I know, I always try and be as realistic as I possibly can when it comes to the draft. But hey, if we can get McKenna or one of McKenna, Stenberg, and Malhotra in the first round, I would be like, that's perfect. You got McKenna, Malhotra, Coots, whoever, potentially, the Ruck twins. Later on in a late first round, early second or early to mid second round. Just that you talked about a core earlier. That would be adding on to the core that you have already now.
Yeah, I'm all for it, man. I'm all for it.
Well, Connor's got another question for you. Will we see McDavid walk away from Edmonton before his extension runs out?
You know what? Like McDavid gave these guys a discount already, and if they don't win the cup, like within the time frame that he signed for, I can see him leaving. And I you know what? This is gonna really pisses me off thinking about it, and I'm pretty sure it'll piss you off too, and everyone else out there if you're a Canucks fan. I can see him trying to I could see him signing with a team like San Jose. Just because after getting a taste of what it's like to play with Mac, he's going to want to play with him again, and he'll do what LeBron James did and take his talents to another team and make a super team, and it's going to be disgusting.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean I was going to say maybe Toronto he might go to, do a duo between him and Matthews. Well, that is if Matthews sticks around.
Man, if I was Big David, I'd be like, no, I want to play with Mac because he's after you seeing how great Macklin Celebrini was in the Olympics, the sky's the limit for Macklin Celebrini. I think he's he's going to be one of the all-time greats when his career is done. And, why not team up with a guy that has like lower mileage than a guy like Austin Matthews?
Absolutely. And, there was obviously, the debate, Bedard, Celebrini. I think Celebrini has absolutely eclipsed Bedard, at least for this season anyway. For now, he's absolutely eclipsed him. I mean, Bedard didn't even make the Olympics. I do think that, perhaps he should have been given at least a spot. We'll see. But we don't know what the actual reasons were for him not being in the Olympics. But he's definitely, at least this season, and for now, like you said, he's eclipsed Bedard. Absolutely.
I think, Bedard and Celebrini, we're going to have that conversation like we had in previous generations where it was like Crosby and Ovechkin. It's going to be Celebrini, Bedard.
Yeah.
In this generation, the next generation coming up.
Absolutely. That's well said, perfectly said too. They're going to be our generation's Crosby and Ovechkin. And then, eventually once, McKenna gets drafted, it might end up being a triple threat. A little bit of a wrestling reference in there. Might end up being a triple threat. With,
I can see that too.
Who knows? It might even turn into a fatal four-way once DuPont comes onto the scene. Yeah, definitely exciting time for hockey in general, the NHL in general, with just those players coming in. I think this is, Connor, is this your hot take that McDavid will sign in Pittsburgh when Crosby retires?
Nah, man.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't really see it. I can't really see him in the yellow or I guess gold and white. No.
I think I think McDavid has a better chance of being a Toronto Maple Leaf than being a Pittsburgh Penguin. Unless Connor McDavid was a diehard Pittsburgh Penguins fan growing up. Maybe there's a chance, but I don't see it.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. I mean, and on that note too, how do we even know Crosby's going to retire at this point? He hasn't lost a step. I know he played his first game back. What was it? Was it last night or was it tonight? Since the Olympics, but he's still going, and I don't think he's slowing down anytime soon.
I can't see it either. I mean, Sid the Kid keeps showing everyone that he's still capable of playing at a high level in this league. Like, he might not be a spring chicken where he's not as fast or as agile as he used to be, but you can't, he has this wealth of experience and knowledge that you just can't teach, and he's an excellent chess player on the ice.
Absolutely. I mean, I know there's been talk about, maybe Ovi kind of retiring after this season. But when you look at both Crosby and Ovechkin, at least physically, you can kind of see it with Ovi, just, how grizzled he looks. Then you look at Crosby and you're like, we were talking about Walter Jones not aging. I mean, Crosby's aged a little bit, but it's very little.
He still looks like Sid the Kid. He really does.
Yeah. I mean, probably has, just a little bit of gray in that beard of his or in his hair, but you never see his hair when he's playing on the ice anyway. So you really see it with Ovi.
Oh, yeah, man. With Ovi, Russian machine don't break, that diet of meatball subs and Takis and Budweiser. I mean, you can only imagine how big Ovi would be if he didn't play hockey.
Yeah. Servant says McDavid's contract is the NHL version of let's stay together until the kids go to college.
I honestly I think McDavid's contract was just him just giving the team that has given him so much opportunity a chance, right? That was kind of his gift to the team and his gift to the fans. And I can't see him if it doesn't work out. I can't see him staying personally.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. Especially when he signed that contract. As soon as I saw like the term, I was like, okay, he's giving them a window. He's saying, you have until this, until the end of this contract to win a cup, or else I'm out.
Yeah, and you know what? I do not like the Edmonton Oilers either. And like Connor McDavid as an individual player, he's one of the best individual players, but like he's an Edmonton Oiler. I can't like him.
Yeah. I'm kind of the same way. Completely 100% respect him as a player and the fact that he's one of the best. I mean, I won't go as far as to call him the GOAT, but he is one of the best for sure, and he's proved it. With his stats, being consistent, during the seasons. But he has no hardware to show for it. And I think they mentioned it during the Olympics. Actually, I think it was, his name slipped my mind. One of the Edmonton reporters.
He asked him that really stupid question, after practice one time.
Yeah, I cannot believe he asked him that, but I absolutely loved Connor's response, going like, "Oh, that's a really good question." Mark Spector, that was his name, Spec. Yeah, I mean, you have guys like Spec, saying like, you've never won the big one,
That's completely stirring the pot. That was 100% clickbait. That was clickbait.
And the fact that it came from one of his own team reporters too, like it wasn't from a reporter from another team or a global reporter who isn't on like one side of the fence. They're kind of in the middle. This was your own like homegrown reporter in Mark Spector, and
very tone deaf.
Yeah, just stirring the pot and kind of like rubbing it in as well. Two runs to the Stanley Cup final back-to-back years, couldn't get it done. Couldn't get it done in the Olympics.
And honestly, like that gold medal game, that's gonna sting for me as a Canadian hockey fan. That's gonna sting for a long time. I can't wait for Team Canada to get that one back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially with all the discourse surrounding like after that game. And then, of course, the whole Jack Hughes thing. And it's like, guys, you haven't won in like 40 plus years. Take it down a notch. How many gold medals do you guys got?
Yeah. I mean, they had they won 100%. I never thought I'd see the Hughes brothers turn heel like that. They went all out. They were partying with the head of the FBI. They took a phone call from Donald Trump. And then all the things that they're talking about in the media, they appeared on Saturday Night Live. Like this is the ultimate heel turn in hockey, bro.
Oh yeah, for sure. And then the whole thing with the women's Olympic team and that whole controversy.
So tone deaf.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Come on, boys. I know the funny thing was, if you look at the beer that they were drinking in the locker room, like they were like drinking like Michelob Ultra Lights. I could I'm not encouraging anyone to do this. Please drink responsibly. I can drink 12 in a sitting with you and be fine. And they probably had two of them, barely one, and they they were like laughing at the women's team and having conversations with Trump and letting Kash Patel hang out with them. That was messed up, man.
Oh yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. Those interviews that, particularly Quinn, you could tell he was smashed.
You're smashed. I am gold medal.
Yeah. But I will admit that actually made me laugh seeing Quinn because it's like what you said before. We're not used to seeing either Jack or Quinn act like that. So to see them act like that, you're like, they are human beings. Like, they're human beings. They're having, they're celebrating, I mean, at our expense, but there's also a different side of the Hughes brothers that we are used to seeing.
Yeah, like, and they pulled a swerve on us too. So like, I know we've been talking a lot about pro wrestling, but like, I felt like when the U.S. won the gold and they took that Johnny Hockey jersey on the ice with them, I felt like that was a great baby face move, and like that made the blow of Canada losing the gold medal a lot softer. And then the aftermath came out, they're like, no, man, F those guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And then even like Quinn, like, during the press conference, going like, beer.
Yeah.
It's like the fact that he had to do that on camera at a press conference. It's like they should just be like, here you go, without you actually having emotion for it.
If those guys in the locker room were smart when they won the gold medal, they would have said no cameras. Right? No, or at least no video. Like, like now it's like it's an infamy. It's not even like a hockey issue now. Now it's like a world issue that you guys were hanging out with the FBI and making friends with the president. Like, it's just a bad look for them in general.
Yeah. Especially with how the whole women's team and how that all blew up.
Yeah.
And then not really, at least not that I saw, really, not really taking any, accountability for, even if it, was them, joking around, it still came across as, tone deaf. These women won the very same gold medal that you guys did as well. So
I mean, like, I can only imagine being in that situation though, where you're on the phone call with like some world leader. It's like you kind of like it's one of those things where it's like, okay, laugh at his jokes even though they're not funny type thing. It's a difficult situation, but still, absolutely. Again, very, very, very tone deaf. Very tone deaf. Read the room, boys.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Have you seen any of obviously? You're obviously aware of, the whole Austin Matthews, Brad Kukutis knee on knee thing. Obviously, the other day, the big topic was George Peros apparently came out and, spoke about the ruling, something he doesn't really do. But it became such a big thing that, he had to come out and speak on it because, guys like, Connor McDavid questioned, the Department of Player Safety and how it's run. And then George Peros had to do a little bit of damage control and kind of defend his decision. I did watch that interview, at least clips of it. I mainly watched it on the Steve Dangle podcast. Quick little shout out to the Steve Dangle podcast. I absolutely love their stuff. And Dangle is loose cannon. And I'm all for it. I love it. But, they were just, talking about, his comments. And, one thing that really kind of stuck out for me was him using the word consistency, which I don't think he has been consistent at all. Unless you want to say he's consistently inconsistent. Absolutely, 100%. But
in regards to player safety.
Yeah. The fact that he used consistency as a, tried to use that word, it's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. I mean, like, I personally did not, see the comments that he made and everything like that. And interesting too, like George Peros, former Duck, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So he was basically like, they kind of gave him a light sentencing, right? It wasn't fair, like, ruling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they gave him 5 games.
Oh man, oh yeah. Well, I mean, like, isn't that kind of like the theme of like just like NHL officiating and player safety ruling? Like, it seems like there really is no consistency across the board, is there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, also, we know from a Canucks perspective with the whole thing with Hedl earlier, although I'll go to bat for Tom Wilson. I didn't think it was that dirty of a hit. I thought it was a clean hit.
Mm-hmm.
He got his 2 or 3 game suspension. I know he has a history, but I didn't think it was predatory at all. And just the fact that it happened to be Heedle that was on the receiving end of it.
And he has a history. Yeah.
Has a injury history.
Yeah.
I would put that below, like, for example, the Tanner Janot and Besser one from last year. I would definitely put that below that for sure.
Yeah, that was dirty. That was dirty. The one on Bess. But you know what? Like to kind of add to this, I do not like the Toronto Maple Leafs. I really dislike them as well. And I'm not the biggest Austin Matthews fan, but I feel like his boys let him down.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Where like, I was when we were watching the Florida game last night, you know it's like a trend with like the Panthers. If you touch one of those guys, you have to deal with 4 other guys on the ice, right? I feel like that should be all across the board for every team. Like, if one of your guys is if someone's taking liberties of one of your guys, especially your star captain, someone has not just someone has to step up, everyone has to step up. You have to like, back your guy up. And that was very just trying to find the right words for it. If I was a Toronto Maple Leafs fan, I'd be very disappointed in the guys on the ice.
Absolutely. And I believe that, when that happened, that was one of the first one of the first things that people jumped at was that there was no response whatsoever. And of course, you hear some of the players kind of go like, oh, well, we didn't see it. How didn't you see it? Did you not, especially if you were on the bench, you easily, that's where the puck was. Your eyesight should have been right there.
Yeah. And especially like, since the season for Toronto isn't going so well either, if people are worried about like, repercussions and getting in trouble with the league or anything, I mean, like your season is pretty much a wash too, right? You can't like lose all respect like for your team and for the season. Like, have some respect for yourselves.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And then, I mean, you did see a little bit of fight, and I think in the following game, but that's probably only because of all the backlash that they received. They were like, guys, we got to do something.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm not the biggest Matthews fan myself, but obviously, it sucks. His season's over. This knee on knee thing ended his season, and then Gudas is only getting 5 games, and with the way that the Leafs are playing, they're likely not going to make the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
But it looks like the Ducks could very well make the playoffs. I believe they're up at the top of the standings, at least the division anyway. So Gudas will still likely play playoff hockey while Matthews won't. So I do kind of look at it from that point of view as well.
Yeah, that's not fair. That's not fair.
Mm. I do think he should have gotten a bit of a longer suspension. But again, I was watching, the Steve Dangle podcast, and Jesse was talking about the fact that, the reasoning behind, the 5-game suspension, how like if they go more than 5 games, or actually, no, if they go, I think it's more than 6, there's, the players can appeal, and the NHL doesn't want the appeals because apparently they've lost a lot of them as of late. When they have gone to an appeal, they've had to, lower the amount of games. So perhaps their whole looking at it as though let's try not to get into a war, a war with the PA, because that's usually what happens when there is a appeal. So
yeah, that's a fair point to make. It was a political move.
Yeah. He's usually the one who is, when it comes to the 3 of them, I love all 3 of them. I watch a lot of Jesse for Blue Jay stuff. He does a lot of Blue Jay stuff, which I absolutely love. But between the 3 of them, he's more like the Switzerland one between the 3. Obviously, Steve is Steve. I do like Adam as well. But out of the 3, Jesse is usually the guy who's like in the middle, he's Switzerland. He doesn't really take a side. He always tries to see, like for example with this, he always like looks into it like, maybe there's a reason they did this.
Yeah,
there's a reason
yeah.
behind it. But Steve, I could talk about Steve Dangle for hours and just the stuff that comes out of his mouth and his especially his reactions when the Leafs lose. I'm sorry, Steve, but priceless.
Yeah,
It's priceless content, man.
For me, my favorite Steve Dangle content that he made was when he did the trade tree from like the Roberto Luongo trade tree. Do you remember that one? Where like basically he broke down like the impact of that trade has made for the Vancouver Canucks, and that was a really good one.
Oh yeah,
really good one.
Yeah, Steve always cracks me up. And even in the episode the other day when they were talking about this was actually before they started even talking about Peros and everything. They had a nice little bit at the beginning. I guess they're sponsored by Tim Hortons. They were doing a little Tim Hortons gig at the start, with the roll up the rim, and I was dying before they even started talking about their topic. So I just thought it was great. Those three have so much chemistry, the three of them. Let's take a look and see. Wait, I thought I saw something. Here's it going. Connor, another question for you guys. Joel Quenneville is on his redemption arc after everything that happened before. Are you happy he's making the most of his second chance?
Yeah, happy for him. Like, I mean, he's a very solid coach and everything, and it's like he's done a lot, and I'm happy for him. I don't know what else to tell you.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, just look at where the Ducks are now. I mean, they have a very young roster there. I think the Canucks could actually maybe learn a thing or two from the Ducks.
I agree.
And how
I agree. I agree. Like, in fact, like I'll go and say it at the beginning of this season, before everything panned out the way that it did, I was like thinking to myself that the Canucks would have been in the position that these guys are in right now. That's what I thought initially going into the season. And then then of course it played out the way that it did.
Yeah, absolutely. No, Canucks could really learn a thing or two from the Ducks, from the Sabres. Man, the Sabres have been quite the story this year. The fact that they're actually going to be making the playoffs.
Good for them. Like, I mean, I'm not like a fan of theirs, but I mean, like, I'm happy for their fan base that they get to, their boys can go to the dance and they can have some fun.
Absolutely. But they definitely have quite the blueprint for the Canucks to follow when it comes to a rebuild, because they know all about that, unfortunately, a little too much. Of course, theirs took a little bit longer than they would have liked. So maybe not completely 100% follow their blueprint, not like a 10-year rebuild, but maybe go about things the way that they did, when it comes to, accumulating draft capital, which we've already, of course, done.
Yeah. Guys, like, I can't, like, I hope the Vancouver Canucks don't have a long rebuild, because, like, I'm almost like, I'm going to be 40 very soon. And, like, I don't want to have to wait till I'm 50 years old to, like, have a chance to watch them contend for a Stanley Cup. Like, I like, the sooner the better, but, like, I'm being realistic too,
Absolutely. I say the same thing. One of the other content creators, Kempner Canucks, he's got a saying, at least once before I die.
At least once before I die. I don't want to be, like, lowered into the ground, like, before they even have another shot at that cup again.
Yeah, he actually even has a hoodie with that slogan on. It's great stuff right there. Connor asked, did you watch Dangle's video where he completely lost his mind after losing to their Zamboni driver? I caught that one.
That was pretty good. That was a good one, actually. Like, because that went viral. That went viral. I mean, it's a great story, right? Not great if you're a Toronto Maple Leafs fan, but a great hockey story.
I'll have to look that one up for sure, because that just reading that sounds hilarious.
It was pretty awesome, man. It was pretty awesome.
Duolingo, who's a loyal supporter of mine, always in the chat, has a question for you. How did you become a Canucks fan, Ryan? What is your first Canucks memory?
Honestly, I think my first Canuck memory was Pavel Bure's first shift. So like that infamous shift that you see, that you've probably seen a bunch of times on YouTube, where even though Pavel didn't score on that shift, just him being on the ice and just skating like coast to coast, it's like something you've never seen before. It's to this day, like, that's probably one of the best individual shifts that anyone can have for their first shift in NHL, even though they didn't score. And that's my first memory.
Mm-hmm. And Duo says, "Say with your certified beauties for sure." Thank you, Duo.
Dude. Yeah, we've been talking for a long time. It's been good.
Yeah, this is longest interview that I've done. So this is awesome.
Yeah, I think honestly, like, I'll give you till 10 p.m. How about that?
All right. That totally works. Totally works. Hey, I'll take all the watch hours I can get. Awesome. Yeah, and I think Duo mentioned in the chat here. I think it was a little way back. Holy, that's amazing! You guys are still going. That is the Line Change signature Lord of the Rings length podcast. Yeah, sometimes my post games go like 3.5 hours. When I say it's going to be an hour and 30 minutes, and I say this like within the first hour, or at least 30 minutes, and then it goes 3.5 hours.
Yeah, man. This is honestly, like, this has been really good, because this is the longest podcast that I've been on where I'm not necessarily talking about fighting or anything like that. I'm talking about like Canucks hockey. It's been really good. Like, I have to say, to yourself, to all the great Canucks creators, like the Canucks Uncensored podcast, Nothing is Perfect, Canucks Clay, Knuckhead. Like, you guys have been also so good to me, especially like, for some reason, like, I didn't start talking to like people about Canucks hockey on record for years until I started campaigning to be the in-arena host for the Canucks for Filipino Heritage Night. That's when I started to get great people like you wanting to talk to me, and it's been a pleasure. It's because, like, nothing wrong in fighting, because that's how I made my bread and butter, and that's one of my passions. But like, just from a fan's perspective, like Vancouver Canucks hockey, like I never miss a game. Like, even when I was in Tokyo, I remember I was messaging you. I'm like, I'm watching the game while I'm in Tokyo.
Yeah. You were repping your Canucks gear too while you were in Tokyo. You sent me that picture. That was awesome.
Yeah.
So back to Urban's question. In high school, when it came to pick a partner to slow dance with, which song did you reserve for the one?
I didn't have any, because like I didn't have the courage to, like, ask girls to dance back then.
I was the same way. I was the shy kid in high school.
Yeah, like, I mean, I feel like, with the kind of confidence that I have now as a grown man, like, that wasn't inherited. That was something that, like, over time I've sort of gained that, because like you need that when you're speaking, when you're yelling in front of thousands of people, like in arenas and stadiums and all that kind of stuff. Like I remember one of my earliest like memories. I remember in high school in grade 9, we had a social studies presentation. Like, I was so afraid to do my presentation in front of my class. Like, I fainted. Right. Oh. So talking and performing in front of people was not something that like I became great at overnight. It was just something over time that like I eventually became comfortable doing, because you find comfort in preparation, right? The more you, and repetition. So like the more you do something and the more that you practice, like that's when you start to gain confidence. You gain confidence in preparation and repetition. And I guess that's how eventually, like, I met the one. I'm with a very lovely person. I'm with my fiance and everything. We've been together for since 2014, so going on 12 years, right? And that again, like, that confidence comes through reputation and consistency. So like, you probably have to get rejected by the girl that you like 100 times before you meet one, right?
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah, my wife and I have been together. I think this year's 11 years, like just together. We're going to be celebrating our 9-year wedding anniversary in May. So, yeah. And this was well past high school too. That she was actually, well, I wouldn't say she was the first girlfriend that I had, because I had I think it was a couple prior to her, but she was like the whole I talked about how when we went to WrestleMania to meeting her parents for the first time there, and them actually inviting me to do that. Also, basically, I kind of knew she was the one, basically, because we did long distance for a while. My wife's actually from the U.S.
I see.
So she's from outside of Philadelphia, like a small little town outside of Philadelphia. So yes, she is a Flyers fan, and for my subscribers, you guys know that she is, and her and I, bicker back and forth, especially when the Canucks play the Flyers.
Oh, dude, man, like the Flyers and Canucks, like their game in December is like one of my, I would say it's one of my favorite traditions, but the Canucks don't have much success whenever they play the Flyers in late December.
No, and she doesn't let me forget that for sure. We always try and go whenever the Flyers come to town. Good friend of mine, Gerald, was actually able to hook us up with some tickets for that game in particular, which was great. She really wanted to go, and usually actually her dad would usually get us tickets for like Christmas, because usually the games would be in December.
Yeah.
So, but unfortunately this year he wasn't able to. But luckily Gerald had some spare tickets, so we were able to go, and she got to see it. And Flyers won. I'm trying to think back. I think they won this past December.
Yeah. I was at that game. I had the displeasure of being at that game.
Yeah. I think we haven't beaten them. I think it was 2 years ago, I think, that we actually beat them.
Yeah.
I want to say. Because we went to that one as well. And I think it was the first one we went to. She, of course, had to rub it in my face that the Flyers had won. And actually, there's a picture. Maybe I'll send it to you later. It's, if I can find it. It's a great picture. Basically, we're in our seats, and I was like, here, let's take a selfie like we normally do at these sporting events. Mm-hmm. So I'm getting ready to take the picture, and then I see her. She's wearing her Flyers shirt, and she's going woo. And then I happened to look at it before I clicked, take the picture, and I just ended up going that look. And then they were doing the Jumbotron, like send in your photos and we'll put it on the Jumbotron. And luckily that was one of the photos that got put on the Jumbotron of me just going like, when you're married to a Flyers fan, or I think I captioned it like marriage or something like that. And then 2 years later, when the Canucks actually beat the Flyers, I did a little reverse where it was me going like, woo. And unfortunately, she had a mask on, because this was around the pandemic, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So she had a mask on, and she wasn't really feeling that great. So you can't really see her facial reaction. But I knew underneath that mask, she was just like, while I'm like going like, woo, Canucks win. So I think those are the great moments, especially, and going back to my original point about, finding the one. When you can do that with your, significant other, you really know you hit the jackpot right there.
Big fact.
Mm-hmm. And then also on that note, because that was a bit of a detour on that. But what was I trying to say? Oh, that's right. Basically, so I mentioned how her and I were, doing the long distance thing. We had actually met online through some forums, because she's actually really into wrestling as well.
That's awesome, man. That's great.
Yeah.
Well, that's why you
So,
guys went to WrestleMania, obviously.
yeah. Yeah. So her and I kind of like clicked over that. You know, her, you know, I was just like, whoa, a girl, and at the time I was like, a chick who likes wrestling. Huh. Wow. This is awesome. She's like the female version of me, you know. So yeah, we did that. You know, we did the long distance thing for I think a few years, and then out of the blue, she was like, "I'm gonna come to Vancouver." You know, I've never left the country. I've never been to Canada to Canada before. I'm gonna, you know, save up some money, you know, pay for my flights, pay for my hotels, and I'm gonna come out and see you. And this was without me even asking for her to do this. So she ends up doing that, and that's kind of to get back to the point. That's pretty much how I knew she was the one.
That's beautiful, man. That's awesome.
Yeah. And then she's now, well, she's not a Canadian citizen yet, but she does have her PR, and she's fully moved to Canada. So I've kind of turned her into a bit of a Canadian. I mean, unfortunately for the U.S. and their choice of president kind of helped that decision. Believe it or not, it was a joke. We did a little joke where she's like, you know what? If he gets elected, I'm moving to Canada. And then lo and behold, he does get elected. And I was like, well, honey, I guess guess you're moving to Canada. And this was actually after she was already here. So, but who would have thought? I know she's great. Like I said, we beg her back and forth all the time, and I'm actually surprised she hasn't poked her head in. So,
well, tell her I say hi.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely. But let's. I think we got some new people in the chat from what I can see. Yeah, here we go. Justin Credible, Certified Beauties. How's it going, Justin? Good to see you, buddy. Duolingo again. Ryan is I'm assuming that he meant to say great. Guess, not guess.
I'll take it. I like that compliment. Thank you.
Connor is asking me, does she like talk it in charge? I actually don't know. I don't think she pays as much attention to it as I do. I mean, obviously I kind of have to with, you know, the podcast, but even then, even before I had the podcast, I still kind of paid attention to that stuff. I did kind of, you know, bug her a little bit when Talkit actually signed with Philly. Going like, you guys are going to have to deal with Talkit hockey from now on. We don't got to deal with it no more. dump and chase. So I did kind of bust her chops on that. So, although she is a big Eagles fan too. Oh, here we go. Urban's going. If you could give a memento from anything in your career and gift it to anyone, what would it be and to whom? That's
a bit tough, but I mean, I actually already give something to like fighters, like whenever after I do introductions. So like I have like a set of cue cards that I have, like they're my notes and everything. And whenever like a fighter like has like a big monumental win, like a knockout or championship victory or something like that, I actually give them my winning cue card, because on the cue card it would have like the result of what happened, the time, and all that. And I've been doing that for the last like 12, 13 years now. And like some fighters that I've introduced, like they have like stacks of these and all that. So it's pretty cool. But I mean, like outside of that, I don't know what else I can give someone. Like I have like suits that I haven't worn in a long time, and they're just collecting dust in a closet.
Yeah. I probably got like a few suits from like, grad years and whatnot. Probably not in the closets, but probably in my storage locker, as is like a bunch of my we talked about like movies and stuff like that. Like probably what I have here is probably not even close to half of the movies that I have. Those are probably all in storage locker. Probably a lot more by.
Are they VHS or DVD?
There's probably some VHS, some DVD in there.
Man, like if I had more space, like because like at my mom's place, like I have like a bunch of like stuff that like I have from over the years, and like I have boxes of VHS tapes and everything. It's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's probably mainly, well, maybe not mainly, but yeah, there's definitely a lot of VHSs in the storage locker. Don't have any VHSs here, but on the topic of like, VHSs, and you spoke about earlier how you absolutely love Sega back in the day. Personally, I was more of a Nintendo guy back in the day. I think I was actually talking to somebody about this just the other day, actually, on having like with the N64 back in the day. I think we were actually talking about the Golden Eyes actually, and how
Golden Eye's good.
Yeah, well, yeah, that game, and just the fact that the Golden Eyes hockey team, their season opener coming out with the Golden Eye theme, I thought that was perfect, absolutely perfect presentation there.
Yeah, and like I think like their intermission song is like the pause screen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's a nice touch. That's a nice touch. Well done.
Yeah, absolutely. I think actually my wife is the one who originally said this, but back when the Kraken came into the league, she's like, how cool would it be if they had, when they came out through the little tunnel thing, or I'm not sure, I think they have a little, kind of like how the Golden Knights have that little night helmet that they skate out of. I think the Kraken have something.
Like a squid, right?
Like
a giant squid?
Like a giant squid. And she was like, imagine how cool it would be is if they skated out to that and you hear on the loudspeakers, "Release the Kraken" by Liam Neeson, like getting Liam Neeson to narrate that. And I was like, oh, that would be perfect. They didn't capitalize on it.
Yeah.
So I'm really glad that the Golden Eyes did that with the Golden Eye theme, for sure. But yeah, I absolutely loved Golden Eye. My dad was really big into The World Is Not Enough, like that game, which I believe
was that for the PS1 or the N64 version?
That was the N64. I think that was the sequel to like GoldenEye. That was like the next Bond game.
Yeah, not the official sequel, because like Rare was the one that made the GoldenEye game. But yeah, actually the world is not enough and Tomorrow Never Dies. They weren't bad games. They were pretty all right actually.
Yeah, I'll never forget the World Is Not Enough one. Like the blue cartridge.
Yeah, that was a nice touch.
Yeah, I honestly, looking back at it, I really miss N64. I wish I still had like an N64. I was even when I upgraded to the GameCube after the N64. I that too. I wish I still had my GameCube, like because I'd be playing it today.
Honestly, like thinking back, because like I own pretty much like every console that I've ever wanted, because like over the years, like I'd recollect and buy them and all that kind of stuff. I actually used to own an underground arcade on Commercial Drive. It's called Game Quarters, and like me and my friend, we had like this I'll show you some pictures one of these days, but we had like this place where we had like arcade cabinet and all the consoles that we ever wanted and everything growing up. But I think one of the biggest mistakes that all of us did from our era was we traded in our consoles. Like we shouldn't, like I know, like trading in our consoles helped us get like a PS2 for cheaper and all that kind of stuff, but that was a mistake.
Yeah.
Right. Just because like, especially like as time goes on, like eventually consoles get cheaper. You don't need to have it right away. Right. But yeah, like I wish I didn't trade in all my consoles just so I can get like a PlayStation 2 or the latest game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Especially with those ones that now you can't really get anywhere. Maybe unless you go to like Japan, you might be able to get there.
Yeah.
So that's, if we do go to Japan, that might be something that I look at for sure.
Yeah, hit me up. I'll give you some tips of some good places to check out.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think more so I'm leaning towards the GameCube, because I think I was cleaning one day and I found a bunch of old GameCube games and I was like, oh, cool, this is sweet. Oh, I can't freaking play them.
you don't have a GameCube to play them on. But don't worry, man. There's lots of really good modern solutions out there. Like, there's like even like a there's like even like an optical drive attachment where you can pretty much like have like your entire collection of GameCube games on an SD card, but you can play it on the real console, and it's really nice.
Yeah. I think I've seen that. Well, we're just getting to about 10 o'clock. Man, this has been a absolute blast talking to you. All things, Canucks. We talked about movies. We talked about, the Smashing Machine, which, by the way, guys, if you haven't gone and seen Smashing Machine, I don't think it's still in theaters anymore. I'm not sure. Is it released on digital?
Yeah, like I believe it's on Paramount Plus if you have it. Pretty much like anywhere where you can like get digital downloads. If somehow you find the Blu-ray version if you buy the Blu-ray version of it, let me know, because like I'm inside the sleeve of the Blu-ray. I still have to buy it. And also like I think I'm in a bunch of deleted scenes as well.
All right. So yeah, there you guys heard it. Definitely check out The Smashing Machine starring Dwayne The Rock Johnson and Emily Blunt, as well as our very own Ryan Ventura, even though he's only in it for one scene. Still,
you can hear me throughout the movie.
Yeah, can hear you throughout the movie. It is your debut role in acting in a movie, and who better to have as a co-star than Dwayne The Rock Johnson?
Hey, wait, hold on. Is that Brandon in there? That's, oh my gosh, yes. Yeah. The legend. Let's get out of here. Love you, my guy. Right? He would have been great for a play-by-play on the Smashing Machine.
Oh yeah. Brandon's a big supporter of the channel as well. Good friend of mine as well.
Big fan of his work. He helps make the Abbotsford Canucks broadcast even more fun and enjoyable. I love it. Thank you very much for your passion, my friend.
Yeah. Brandon, good to see you, buddy. Glad to see you, slide in here at the end. Yeah, Brandon's great. Brandon actually did a little bit of my intro. I don't know if you saw.
Yeah, it's really good. Really well done. Nice touch.
Yeah. Definitely going to be having, hopefully, Brandon on again soon, hopefully towards the end of the season. But yeah, great to see Brandon jump in here. Awesome. But like I mentioned, it's been fantastic talking to you, Ryan. We definitely got to do this again. Definitely got to do this again for sure. Maybe not 2.5 hours, but who knows? Maybe we can beat this. Maybe we've set a bar. Now maybe we need to,
Who knows? Maybe like I can jump on the show when the draft is happening. Who knows?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Right. We could either celebrate or cry depending on how things go.
Very, very true. I was teasing some guys on my post game, because they were asking, what would your reaction be if we drafted Gavin McKenna? I was like, well, I don't want to spoil it for you guys because I'm going to do a live reaction. So I'm going to wait. So you're going to have to wait. So yeah, maybe we'll do that for sure. But as I said, thanks once again, Ryan. This has been amazing. It's been a blast. I've had a lot of fun with this. We talked about a lot of great stuff. Like we mentioned, movies, Power Rangers. I did a first showing a Power Rangers morpher on the stream. That's literally just been sitting on my desk, collecting dust. Definitely we'll have to for sure grab some beers sometime. Grab some Steve Weisers. What? So I'm okay. I'm terrible at that part, but I'm. Just ask my wife. I'm always constantly going like, what?
Do you remember he had that thing? He's like, do you hear what my watch is saying?
Yeah, the watch thing is good.
Give me a hell yeah.
I'm actually a big LA Night guy, so I usually do that to if I want to annoy her, I'm always like, yeah. But I'll let you go. I'm not sure if you got to run, but I'll let you go. Once again, thanks, Brandon, for being here. Absolutely love it. Nice little surprise to end things off.
That was appropriate too. Like at the end of the show, he appears. Let's get out of here.
Exactly. I do have Ryan's socials in the description down below. You guys can check him out on Twitter and Instagram. Obviously, like I mentioned, go check out the Smashing Machine. It's on digital platforms on Paramount Plus. I actually happen to have Paramount Plus, so maybe I'll finally be able to check it out myself. But once again, this has been great. Love it. Thanks again for coming on. Really appreciate it, brother.
Glad to be here. It's been an honor. And everyone out there, please subscribe, tune in to the Line Change podcast. What a great show. And Canucks Nation, please stay positive. Like, we're suffering right now, but days will get better eventually.
Yeah, for sure. And to end that, I only got one thing to say. I'm trying not to butcher this. One word. Yeet. All right. Thanks again, brother. Appreciate it. I'll catch up with you again, hopefully sometime soon.
All right. We'll talk soon. Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks, brother.
Bye-bye.
All right. That was Ryan Ventura. One heck of a guest. Probably amazing guest. Like I said, we went 2 hours and 35 minutes. This was incredible. We covered lots of great stuff. As I mentioned, we talked about Canucks, we talked about movies, we talked about the Smashing Machine, and this was a all around interview. So it was amazing. I absolutely loved it. Definitely, like I mentioned, check out the Smashing Machine on digital. As I mentioned, you can also check it out on Paramount Plus if you do have that. Also, follow Ryan Ventura on Twitter and Instagram. I have his socials in the description down below. Thanks once again, guys. And let's take a look at the NHL betting odds for tomorrow. We'll do the Rangers and the Blue Jackets. The New York Rangers are a plus 1.5 and a minus 142 on the puck line. The Columbus Blue Jackets are a minus 1.5 and a plus 120 on the puck line. Rangers are a plus 180 on the money line, and the Blue Jackets are a minus 218 on the money line. Once again, these odds are, of course, subject to change. And, of course, please play responsibly. But I want to give a shout out and thank you to the sponsor of this video, none other than DraftKings Sportsbook, which is an official sports betting partner of the NHL. DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, is built for the fastest game on ice. With player props and live betting, every shift, every shot, every save gives you options to get in on the game with DraftKings Sportsbook. New customers bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN, that's code THPN, to turn $5 into $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. In Connecticut, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino in Kansas, wager tax pass-through may apply in Illinois, 21 plus in most states. Void in Ontario, restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets, which will expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. This is a limited time offer. Copyright 2026 NHL, all rights reserved. This video has been a presentation of both DraftKings Sportsbook as well as the Hockey Podcast Network. Be sure to check out the network for your favorite podcast covering your favorite team at thehockeypodcastnetwork.com, the home of hockey podcasts, where it's every team, everywhere. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button and subscribe to The Line Change, and be sure to have your notifications turned on so you don't miss more in-depth analysis of your Vancouver Canucks. Once again, drop your comments down below. Let me know what you guys thought about this interview, and did you guys enjoy it? Let me know. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you guys on the next Line Change.